Hi, hello, welcome to Nollywood Film Club. I'm Mr. C, a Barocco critic. Hope you're doing well. All right, so we're going to be discussing the part two of the series we discussed last week, a continuation of the series, very short series. Worth reminding you that if you haven't listened to chapter one, because we barely recount um chapter one in this one. So please do go check that one out if you haven't already. Um, Also, I think it's fair warning that we do discuss a lot about sexual assault in this. So if that's something you're uncomfortable with, I would also recommend giving this one a miss. I didn't do this for the last one, but this one feels much more. Yeah, this I think feels more in depth, but I do think it was a good conversation, and I think for what is worth, in my humble opinion, much more in depth and much more thorough conversation than the series went into. All right, but with all of that being said, thanks for everybody who has been rating the podcast on Spotify or wherever you can rate your podcast. Please do rate it. We From next week we'll be reading out your reviews. So if you do want your reviews read out during this section, because I'm looking for something to do during this section except summaries, please give that one a listen. As always, timestamps are in the description below, and I hope you enjoy Nollywood Film Club discussing the origin Madam Koi Koi. It could be a long one, so let's just start.
Let's kick it out.
Welcome to Nollywood Film Club. We do discuss Nollywood movies or TV series every Sunday, sometimes on Nollywood Conversations, 6 p.m. Watts. Today we will be discussing the origin, Madam Koi Koi, Chapter 2. We discussed Chapter 1 last week. Before we start, we'll discuss the good, we'll discuss the bad, we'll do pushback, and then we'll do summary. And what did I want to say? Oh no! If you don't have, before I go to predictions, if you don't have, if you don't want to come up to be a speaker, drop your comments in the thread. All right, all right. Yeah, let's see, Tara. Okay, all right. So let me announce some predictions that happened last.
Should we give an award for the most accurate prediction?
It's coming.
And the most left field, we also get an award.
We have to agree that I did predict that.
Wait, don't worry. Calm down.
And I was accurate.
Calm down. All right. Okay, so the first person to speak, Otas actually predicted that Amanda's father would be one of Madame Koi Koi's rapists. So, and that was accurate. It was something that a bunch of people actually, in fact, is the most popular prediction that was there.
Irrelevant but accurate.
Uchenna, Vanessa, Cynthia all supported, agreed.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. C. When I predicted Amanda's father was going to be the rapist, I had a character in mind. My mind was the Bolu guy. The first person that initiated the rape. So I'm quite wrong because I didn't think it was going to be
a side character that was even unnamed.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
I don't recall.
Yes. So my mind was in the Bolu character.
Bolu character. I can't remember if he said. I don't know if he said it was a Bolu character, but okay, all right. So you had slightly different. A couple of other things that were, Mississippi predicted Badge death, which obviously is a lukewarm milquetoast prediction.
I'm sorry.
And then Otas jumped on with the, obviously, Madame Koike will die, which, all right, we're now going into just milquetoast predictions. But Wayne's rants actually wins for the closest to the most strongest one, as Wayne's rants predicted that Ruth would be raped, but the same man that raped Madame Koi Koi and that she saw Madame Koi Koi now kill those people, and that's why she's been quiet. She's been scarred, which wasn't quite right. But it's very close.
But saying Madame Koi Koi and stopping to speak, that's not a prediction. They already said it.
That
right?
what?
she saw something and she hasn't spoken since then.
That's not no.
It was just there. She saw Madame Koiko and she hasn't spoken.
No. Okay, that would be wrong anyway. That's not. I don't.
But that wasn't why she stopped speaking. Yeah, true.
So, but the point was that
Wayne spoke to someone scarier.
The point was that Wayne's Rand predicted that the same people.
It's
the same people.
Technically, guys, I was right because if it's not Madame Koiko that kept Sister Ruth from speaking and somebody scarier, their mother superior was the real Madame Koiko along.
Madame Koiko was the friends we made along the way.
Vanessa, you're gonna get banned.
Not one village having just one merry band of rapists.
Yeah, just like that. The reason why we have to give it to him is because he's calling them the same rape. Because like in my head, it's like, okay, you know what? I can see it, but why would they just repeat the same? Why wouldn't it just be a new brand? But kudos Wayne's Rants for calling that out.
They're quite a problem because when the village knew they had to kick out some rapists, they were like, "Yes, these guys."
They were straight.
They're straight up. They know the culprits.
Okay, and I guess there was a witness. Anyway, all right. Let's start with the good. And we will start with Cynthia. Cynthia, tell us what you liked about chapter 2 of The Origin, Madame Koiko.
Okay, yeah. So since we're in the good, and I did a good in part 1, I want to retract one of my good. I want to retract one of my good for part 1. It is good, please. So last week I said I like that they had the creative license or whatever to choose the kind of sound Madame Koiko show will make, the stop sound. But after watching part 2, I saw how Madame Koiko moved around the forest, and it just occurred to me that no, the shoe she had to wear had to be the heels because Madame Koiko is a schoolgirl story, okay? The Koiko sound came from her shoe, and it worked because of the kind of floor they had in the dormitory and the kind of shoes the students were wearing. So you could hear Koiko sound more elaborate on a concrete floor, okay, compared to like other kind of floors. So yeah, I think I'm retracting that good. They had no right.
Sorry.
To change the sound.
Your goods, they are retracting the good from last week.
Yes. I'm retracting that good. I'm sorry. I'm retracting that good. They had the right to change the sound of our shoes. It doesn't even work in the forest, if I'm being honest, because of the way shoes are going to sound in the forest. But the importance of her having that heels that sound quite on a school dormitory that is made with concrete floor is part of the reason the school ghost is called Madame Koiko in Nigeria compared to other school ghosts in other areas. So I'm retracting that good. Then my second what?
Yeah, you're spending a significant part of your good on a bad.
It's not a bad.
It's not a bad. It's a retraction.
I said it's a good in part 1, and after watching part 2, I've realized that I'm very wrong. I should be in the baddie group. So I've retracted it. It's not a dislike. Anyways, my second good is that I felt very vindicated, guys, after watching part 2. Because when I came here, I remember when I said that the graphic scene was used to elicit emotions out of me because the characters are not well developed, they were talking and all those kind of things, and it's not because of their acting. And going through part 2, everyone was acting the way they were acting, and it was emotionless. And I was like, yes, I'm vindicated, okay? If not for that graphic rape scene, I wouldn't have had any emotion while watching part 1. Then talking about rape now, I still want to talk about my good from part 1, and that is Idowu's character. So as I said, it was the student character I felt acted well. It was able to like bring out the emotion from it's remorse about the rape that just happened. Like it was for me, it was the star in terms of student actors from part 1. Now in part 2, it's not like in part 2, I think I'll give it to Amanda. Now it's not like she was great. It's just that while everyone was falling apart, she was shy emoting. Okay. Now while the emoting she was emoting match the situation that she was putting that expression for does not matter. But she was emoting and she showed that she can emote as an actor. It was so sad that when she opened her mouth to deliver her lines, I wanted her to close the mouth immediately. But in terms of acting, she sha emoted and her facial expression was giving. And yeah, so in part one, I had Idowu as as a good actor among the students, and I have Amanda for a good emoting. Then I also have something to say, which was a good I missed in part one. In part one, I kind of finished the whole movie in one sitting, and that was after they killed off Idowu's character, and I was wondering why they killed this character when it was the one remorseful and the other rapists were not killed. And I was like, okay, let me continue watching. So I finished the whole movie in one sitting in part one. In part two, I kind of had a very, very good laugh while watching part two of Madame Koi Koi. Like I laughed. I was going to stop, but I was like, why should I stop? Let me just laugh. So I laughed from the 10 minutes to the last minute, and I started recommending the movie to my friends because why should I hide this laugh juice? I had to call my friend to live at Love Island, Australia, to come and watch part two with me. Told someone in my office to come and watch part two with me, although she replied and said if it's a Netflix show, she's uninterested because the things in Netflix are not good. Told another of my friends to come and watch part two with me. So I was like spreading the love juice, and I'm so proud of doing that. So yeah, that's what I have for my like. So most importantly, Idowu was the student character that is acting performances caught my attention. Amanda emotion or emoting in part two caught my attention. Not in the same way of like, oh, she has this kind of acting prowess, or she can act like Idowu in part two, in part one. But yeah, those two people, and yeah, I had a good time watching it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Jesus. Okay. Okay. All right, Atas, please. Please give us your
It's
good
so funny
section.
because I thought I would be the bad one today, but I'm realizing that I will not be. I don't have any goods written down. I've just decided that we are at the end of the year and I need to stay honest for Santa because unfortunately for this movie, all the goods happened in part one, and then they had the audacity to keep me waiting for another full week. So I will pass this on to the next speaker.
Oh, Jesus. All right. All right. So, Vanessa, I hope this would.
Not spamming up this to steal, Vanessa.
Still as much as you want from those two.
Sorry. The way I knew that was what Taz was going to do.
No, the audacity has actually blown my mind because they have me talking about the same
We're
movie
never
for
beating
2
the hate
weeks.
allegations.
You know why I knew? You know why I knew Otas was going to do that? Even with films that Otas has said a good, Otas good, not they pass one line. So this one, I knew she wasn't gonna say anything. My good.
Recently, your task has changed.
It's a
Recently,
lie.
No, I've
It
actually
has
been
been
on my
going-
shit. I've been writing notes, actually taking
it's
notes
been
on things that
recently, your task has
matter.
changed.
And I did this in the last part, only for them to do this nonsense of the second part. So I don't.
Sorry, no vex now. Oh yeah, good. The Oba is a pretty man. The Oba in the past, I look at him, I said, you're a beautiful man. I don't quite like the looks of you. um, second good. Also, yeah, I guess sex worker representation. Love to see it. I don't know, man. I guess I liked the fact that there was a sex worker in this and it wasn't presented like there was a lesson to be learned from her or anything. She just did it, and and she helped our detective to detect, even though he had not been detecting for the past two films. Our sex worker said, our mothers used to tell us so that if you go out in the night, don't do this. I say yes, I quite appreciate that. So that's my second good. What's my third good? Also, guys, July, one of my predictions came true. Didn't I predict that the Madame Koi Koi was an evil spirit that is entering into people? The only part of my prediction that didn't correct is that it will enter Amanda. But
that's not a huge part.
shush. But I was right that the spirit was entering people. How they now did it in the beginning with Sikla and Kene, I don't really particularly know. But I was right that it was a spirit that was inhabiting people. What was my third good? It's not necessarily a good. Me, I was just happy that whoever predicted that Baba Wale was one of the rapists was wrong. And I was quite pleased with that because Baba Wale is comfort character for me, and I didn't want to have to abandon one of my comfort characters. So, woo! What else was a good? Oh, that bad character died. I mean, it wasn't a very satisfactory death or anything, but yay, death for Badge's character. What else was it good? Do 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 do. Oh, hold on. Wow. I tried though, but wait, I'm gonna keep trying. What else was a good?
Amanda is pretty. How can you say Oba is pretty?
Sorry
You talk about Amanda
now.
prettiness.
Sorry. I thought it was a sorry. Emma Binu. Martha Hinome is a beautiful girl. I thought
Yes.
that's been established. Martha do fine. I guess it's a good, even though I didn't see them die. Boya they fast forwarded it and we didn't see it. Me, all I saw was dead body of the 4 boys. I didn't see that they actually died. I didn't see when it happened. I was watching back of TV, but I didn't see their deaths. But I was glad to see dead body. So great. What again is a good though? I mean, I know a good. So you know how usually we always get this this isn't you type pick me girl, but for the men, I'm so glad that we got a this isn't you. You know this isn't you moment, but for a woman. I'm sorry. Women deserve to be told this is not you. This is not you. So in that scene, when Sister Ruth was telling Madam Koi Koi, this is not you, I said yes, history is being made. I was like, yes. And as I was like, I mean, granted, that's not how I will fight against a murderous spirit, but I do appreciate for efforts for them to say this is in you. I know this is in you. Fight back. This is not you. I say, yes. Come on. Women do deserve to be told that, not all the time, men. Yes. What else was it good? I guess I guess my last good is that the filmmakers decided to separate this. I'm sorry. The filmmakers decided to separate this film into two to extend their cooking. So, yeah.
Okay, all right. This is gonna be this bad session is going to be
Vanessa, I really tried. You did so well. I'm so proud.
Thank you so much. Like, I started this with nothing to say, and Cynthia and Otas didn't help either. So I had to come up with this by myself.
By myself. Also, thank you for mentioning Baba's thing, because I was also so happy he wasn't one of the rapists. Right. I was so scared. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Right. Let's get through.
Only for him to be useless. Anyways.
Anyway.
All right. So, is it Timmy? Oh,
yeah, Timmy.
Timmy, go on.
I would also like to skip because I genuinely don't have anything to say.
Okay. Allah.
All right.
Okay. Uchenna to the rescue.
Give it to us.
Yeah, I too was planning to skip this section, but since so many others are skipping, I want to try to arrest that trend. So I'll say one thing I think is salutary. I watching this movie, the biggest thing I felt was sort of a bait and switch, where I was promised a horror movie, and in the end, what I got was more like something that I would have watched on Africa Magic Yoruba. And, I wondered if that was my fault for expecting something. Did they promise it was going to be a horror movie? I think so. I mean, the way it was presented and the marketing, the artwork, I was sort of expecting, sort of like a Nollywood version of a new wave horror movie of the type that you would see from A24 or Blumhouse or Neon or any of that stuff. But instead, it was really a Yoruba movie. with better production values. And there's nothing wrong with that because I watch plenty of Yoruba movies and I enjoy them, but I just was expecting something else. But the more I watched it, and I saw all the people walking back and forth and herbalists with their long incantations and people talking about blood rituals and family curses and the need to purify the land, I started realizing that what this movie really reminded me of was the early movies of Hubert Ogunde, those movies like Aye and Jaisimi and stuff like that. And, it really does remind me of that. And I think it's important to pay homage to Nigerian cinematic history. And I think that's what this movie did. That's a good thing. And I appreciate that. That's pretty much, that's my compliment.
Well, wow, that's barely to do with the film, to be honest, but all right.
Thank you for the effort.
Thanks. Okay, I think it's Rotimi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so coming into this, I only had one, but since I heard everybody, I said, look, I'm struggling. I had to stretch it. I had to find 4. So I'm going to give you 4 good points that I thought I liked. When Mother Superior second in command, when he hits Baba Wale in the bush, that hits when he swung with it like was a piece of wood. I liked that shot. The second the Babalawo like walking down that corridor. I liked that corridor. That corridor looked nice as a shot. I just liked it. The hanging, I thought like I was looking trying to find out like where I would see the hook of how they put it off. The hanging looked realistic. And Badge's character playing a sleazy, the second detective, the enemy's partner, playing a sleazy guy, toasting secondary school girls, playing that role as a disgusting guy, as a sleazy guy. He played that role well. That was the only performance I liked for it. And with that, I yield the mic. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
I will agree there. I liked Bad's performance as well.
Rotimi actually has taken. Rotimi has taken 2 of my goods. You put
and I support. Sorry, and I support that corridor.
People have been saying, "Oh, no good, nothing." I don't want to hear your voice anymore.
I take offense to that because I gave
good. Who is next? Nollywood must change.
Okay. My likes. One, I like the how they brought in the old traditional, the spiritual kind of thing. The traditional man saying making incantations. I kind of like that. They brought that into the movie, even though I don't really, but I like it. I like the king looks good. The past, when they went back to the past, the king looks good. He's a fine man. And then I like that this is the roots did not grow because she has set her eyes on Miss Koiko, Madam Koiko. She did not grow and she couldn't talk. So I don't know. Where everyone else was growing, she remained the same. I kind of like that. That's all I like.
Okay, all right. Michael, you're a little late, so I will let you speak, but other people who have come before will replace you after this. Go on, Michael.
Hi guys. I'll just be very quick. I liked even though the story was a bit predictable, I liked the costume. The costume was very good, and it was very in period keeping, especially when the parents when they were at the bar. I also liked the prostitute, where she wasn't shown as in a negative light. Basically, she was just doing her job. Yeah, and it was what it was. Also liked how, in fact, it was a bit squeamish about how raw they showed the other detective and him perving on the high school girls. I was actually very, very squeamish. I didn't think they would go that far. And also at the end scene, the credit scene, how the female senior was sexually sodomizing the little boy. I thought that it was good that they pushed those boundaries. That's about it, really. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Michael. Anchor, go on. Anchor.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, sorry, I had to open my phone. It closed. Hi. Yes, afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry. So the reason was the good. I do believe maybe the second part might have weakened the entirety, but it's the good. Okay. I really did find it the long hallway walk for the obelisk. That was very creepy. I'm not gonna lie. Look, it was a little bit scary. I was like, "Is something bad about to happen? Is something really bad?" And then nothing happened. I was like, "Okay, wow." Maybe they put a lot of like tension and love, like the way the film did was like it was scary, and I was like, that was lovely. Uh, yeah, I think that the filming was very clean in many ways. Um, I like some of the acting. I thought the acting was serviceable and did well, no problem. Um, there were some good lines in there, and there were some good dialogues. Some. Uh, it wasn't. I like the fact that it seemed that the person had a tail. What did I say? It was kind of like I spit on your grave. This is like a rape revenge movie, and I have to say, this type of rape revenge movie is different from the West because they're two different cultures. So of course they're going to be different. But it is a different type of rape revenge movie that incorporates Nigerian things, which is different than what I have personally seen. So that's a good thing. Um, the first part was particularly strong. The fourth part of the series was particularly strong, and that's something I like. I really like the first part of the series. It was very, very strong, and maybe you should have stopped there.
All right. Thank you. All right. We're talking about chapter 2, by the way.
I know we're talking about chapter 2, and I said some good things about chapter 2. The acting continued, which is the acting was serviceable, and well, they did what they're supposed to do. I like the use of native. Oh, I like the Yoruba spoken. It was very lovely Yoruba. Um, although I do have to ask, I don't know whether this was intentional or not. There were many points in part 2 where like the actors stammered a little bit. And I don't know if they were trying to convey natural ways of speaking or they missed their line and they just didn't reshoot it and they got it back again because it happened way too often. But to give the best intention, this is the best intention of like, well, Nigerian acting is doing naturalistic types of speaking where people stammer and something. So points to naturalism.
All right. Okay. All right. Thanks, Anka. There are a couple of
the
people.
costuming is nice too. Some of the costuming is nice.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Anka. There are a couple of people in the.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, so in addition to the things that have already been said, I'd like to mention that I really, really like the actress playing Amanda's mom, Bolaji Ogunmola. I've seen her in a few other things, but I hadn't really paid attention. I guess that's an advantage of a movie being such that you have to really pay attention to the things that are working, where, I really got to acknowledge her acting prowess. Every scene that she was in, she emotes so beautifully. She's such a joy to watch. She's so expressive and she's gorgeous. So I liked that a lot. I like the relationship between Amanda and her mom from the first part to this part, kind of ruined at first with all that exposition in the first chapter, but we're not talking about that. So, yes, I like the relationship. I like watching them. The scenes between them are really good, even if sometimes I don't understand what's happening in the scene as happened in this chapter. And then I like the budding relationship between Amanda and Baba Fawole. There was just something very tender in the way he kind of assumed almost like a father slash grandfather figure role belated in her life, because from what we know, she has not had that kind of figure in her life. I don't know if that goes anywhere. I don't know where they're going to, what world the next iteration or whatever of this movie is going to be, if it'll be in the same community, if we're going to see them again. But I just liked that. And then I liked the relationship between Baba Fawole and his father's former apprentice, the current Babalawo Fajimi. I liked their scenes together. They were funny. I have negative things to say about the scenes in general, but just the relationship between them, the easy banter, the way they spoke, I liked that. I liked listening to also the Yoruba speaking parts. I usually find myself immersed, whenever they go into incantations and proverbs. I just like anything that has such deep like culture and tradition. So whether or not it fits in this movie is a different conversation, but I liked that. And then last two things, I like that Madame Koikoi's clothes did not suffer wear and tear. I'd like to be introduced to whoever made her clothes. She lost one shoe, but that's neither here nor there. The surviving shoe is thriving. And then I like the fact that Sister Silence might not be speaking, that's Sister Ruth, but she definitely found time to tweeze her brows. Her brows were on flick throughout, whether she was talking or not. So these are the things I really liked.
All right,
And
thanks,
her
Phil.
skin game was clearly amazing. So she didn't age 20 years. And I feel like we had not said that enough. So
Drop the skincare routine,
I think
Sister
that's a
Ruth.
side effect of coming in contact with his
fair
spiritual being.
enough. I will be looking
Maybe
out for
it's
that.
minding your business and keeping quiet that does it.
All right.
I remember one more thing. They
No,
translated the incantation very well. Normally it just says incantation. They actually translated it. That's a plus.
okay. All right,
So
thanks.
that's a good.
Yeah. Sorry, I want to say something. If I calm down now as a listener, will you guys swear that you guys will bring me up after you bring?
Yes,
You guys swear you guys will bring me up during this, like, because I don't trust you people. I don't.
I swear, Madam Koika chapter 2.
Wake me
I
up.
will bring you back up.
What?
I swear, Madam Koika chapter 2. I will bring you back up.
No, I don't trust you people.
That's the first one.
Because if I switch as this night, I not find myself after you people say you're all good there.
All right. Wayne's Rants, do you want to say the things you liked about Madam Koiko chapter 2? Hey, if you want to, there's no space on the speaker thing anymore, unfortunately. But if you do want to share your thoughts, the things you liked, please just comment it under, and we'll read it out. But yeah, this thing, we're closing this thing.
Thank you so much. I have a request. I am assuming that we have 5 minutes for the good, yes? Can I do 2 minutes and then put my 2, because I put 3 minutes in my bag?
That's not how life works. That's not how life works.
Okay, no, I'll just, either way, it's not past 2 minutes. I like the fact that what I thought was going to happen happened. So I like the fact that it's a win for myself. Just because I think because they hinted at it too, there's a payoff. I like that. I like the fact that all the bad guys died. Not all of them died, but okay. the assassin, Mother Superior's assassin was killed. The 4 rapists were killed. One of the olden days rapists, 4 of them, 2 were killed. One is in a mental institution. The other one had an accident. So in this film, bad things happen to bad people. So I mean, I like that, and then I like the fact that Sister Ruth found her voice when she needed to. Even though when she opened her mouth, she was just like the dialogue and the things she was saying, it was offering me. But at least she spoke up when she needed to. So yeah, just I mean, there were some other little things that I liked. But they've already said most of my likes. Like the characters are fine, so there's nothing else for me to say.
Okay. All right. Okay. Cynthia, what requesting to speak again, because the person that originally requested has dropped off. So that person's network is just bad. Because we're now at Mrs. C. Mrs. C, what did you like about chapter 2?
Sorry, I really should have been thinking about all this while everybody was doing their thing. What did I like about chapter 2? I guess I liked that all the people I wanted to die died. So that was nice. Except Madame Superior, but sure. What else did I like about number 2? I enjoy incantations. And I don't know why, like anytime I see in films and they're doing, I just enjoy it. Like I'm not Yoruba, I don't speak Yoruba, but it always just sounds like poetry to me. So that's always fun for me. What else did I like? Look, I like that I didn't have to see too much of Lashe in part 2. I think that's about it. I didn't like much. Mr. C, over to you.
Okay. Creative Fingers is back. I don't know how. Creative Fingers, I don't know how your network isn't great, unfortunately. But if you have things you liked about Adam Coker, please go on. Creative Fingers, are you there? All right. Okay, I'm going. Okay, so some of the things I liked about this chapter 2. All right, so I thought there were a couple of, a lot less than chapter 1, but a couple more good moments. In fact, a lot less than chapter 1. But there was a shot where I think Mother Superior had just spoken to the boys outside. I can't remember. She was outside. She had just spoken to someone, and the camera waits on her, and she gives an instruction to her henchman. I don't know what his name is. She gives an instruction to the henchman, but she does it almost with her back to the camera, almost like she's doing something shady. And again, it's something we don't do often in terms of cinematic language. That was, some of these things were missing even in chapter 1, and I just like that they did something like that. I don't know whether it was intentional. Hopefully it was, because it didn't move and everything it just seemed right. So I liked that. There weren't a lot of it though, so it's taking that into context. Rotimi already mentioned the hanging. I did kind of okay, I know the trick they did for the hanging. It's fine. It's just that, because like if you do hanging, that's basically the trick you would do for the most part. I wish they disguised it a little better. But I do like that they tried it, and they gave it an, I imagine most people probably didn't spot it. It was nice. So I think this movie's heart is in the right place.
I see the intention.
Yes, this is I see the intention going to Oxford. I agree. I admit it straight up. The heart is in the right place. The movie is trying to tell a story of sort of the suppression of women I think this is the best angle anyway, and it's doing it from almost like and it's trying to tell this from a systematic place. Original person that becomes Madame Koi Koi is trialed and done by the village, by the system at the time, and then Madame Koi Koi, Omaomi becomes Madame Koi Koi, is sort of abused and killed, and like the village sort of covers. I don't know if it's right to call it covers, but they did something. Isha wasn't punishable by death, but like there's a systematic like these women's lives don't matter. And then also Mother Superior being somebody overseeing the rape of these girls is also showing how yes, women can be part of the system. So in terms of how women can be subjugated in a particular environment, I thought this actually did some of the best work Nollywood has done. Given Nollywood's, given Nollywood's sort of history, this is not the greatest compliment of all time because it doesn't take very much. And then lastly, also, you have to take this compliment into context. Deyemi might be top 2 detectives in Nollywood. Top 2. I think Ali Nuhu from The Trade is still number 1. And he's not great. So I think this is not the worst detective shown on Nollywood.
Take that back. Ali Nuhu is always great.
Okay, all right. I'm not taking anything about Ali Nuhu's. Anyway, but yes, all right. So that's the good. Right. Yes, there we go. Most of that 43 minutes is not good. But if you do have things to say, please let us know. Again, we'll read it. All right. Nothing good has come in the comments as well, by the way. Nothing.
Yeah. Just to let y'all know, accurate timekeeper, I will be strict on these timings for the bad because if not, we'll sleep here.
All right. Okay. Cynthia, do you want to start us off?
Oh yeah, sure. So from the part 1 and 2, I said I did not recognize this tale because I know Madame Koi to be a school ghost. I was complaining about students being the shadows of themselves in part 1, but this was worse because I can't recollect when I saw a student in this part 2, but I think it was like 30 minutes into the movie. We hardly saw student activity, participation. It got to a point I forgot the name of the school because I learned too much about the village. So yeah, it was very village centric. It was more village centric in part 2, and we saw less of student activities and student participation because I thought it was like a school setting too. Another dislike was they abandoned the major horror theme that followed Madame Koi Koi Te. So the major horror theme that followed Madame Koi Koi Te was psychological fear. And it came from students. Okay, it's because students were scared of her. They didn't know who she was. They didn't know who her victim was. They didn't know how she selects a victim. And they had Idowu's character die. To be fair, it was still recognizable even after his death. But they said, "Now we're not going to use the students to pass out fear among the students. We're going to ignore them." Then the school was a Catholic school. They said, "No, we're not going to even bring in religious fear because our major aim for shooting this Madame Koi Koi was to shoot the horrifying rape scene. That is Ibukun horrifying rape scene in part 1." And to be honest, it was not needed because what woke Madame Koi Koi up was Amanda arriving in the village. Okay. So another thing I dislike about this movie is this movie had a strong undertone for forced feminism and rape apologists. So I will start by saying It's because this woman says she's timing me. That's why I'm doing back and forth like this. Sorry. So this movie had a strong undertone of false feminism and rape apologies. And you can see this in how Madame Kwekwe chose a victim, okay? So we saw Idowu. So Idowu was the first character that was killed. There were 4 rapists, okay? But the character that was killed was the character that was remorseful. It was the one that was forced to participate in the rape, and everybody passed through that evil forest if they're going to go back to the school. But they killed the remorseful character. We saw a random guy pissing in the village. It came out flirting. He didn't commit rape, but they killed him. It's troublesome, according to them. We saw a random guy with a knife, with put at an old woman. They killed him, and people are like, "Oh, Madame Coco is a feminist. She's killing the guys." So they have this strong undertone of false feminism. Then we got into the police officer, which confused me and pissed me off. So before they killed this police officer for his crime, they made a student character to seduce this man. So you could see the student character come into Mother Superior office, and she's seducing this man. Then they took us out. The student character is talking about thank you for the provision. Then before we know, in the forest, I was a bit confused because I didn't know if they had consensual sex before they came to the forest or something is happening. But you could see that they were giving the rapist or the attempted rapist a little bit of story or a little bit of remorse. So we have a student character seducing this man. She collected provision from him, and now he wants to rape her. And Madame Kwenkwe comes and kills him. Even Lachey's death, if we're being very honest, they were not killed because they were rapists, Lachey and the friends. They were killed because Madame Kwenkwe is back to the school and she wants to attack Amanda, and they were just like victim of circumstances because she was killing everybody that was in her way, that was in a way of attacking Amanda. So there was a very, very strong undertone of false feminism. Oh, she's killing men. And the rape apologies, because Idowu's character that was a rapist had a bit of remorse given to him. Police officer Oscar, they wrote a female character to seduce him and collect provision from him. Then they ended it by showing us a female character and be like, oh, women do rape too. So I don't know, Sha. I just felt they had this strong undertone of rape apologies and false feminism. Then I don't even know how many minutes I've gone through. But another thing I was going to talk about was the beginning part. So the beginning part, I felt like because they say they have creative license and artistic license. We saw her and Rosemary, Madame Koi died. Okay. She came in. She was a bit relieved when she saw Bolu because she probably trusts Bolu. She did not expect that Bolu was going to rape her. The other guys came and they raped her. And instead of them to like use this part two to like probably build on who Rosemary is, because we really don't know who Rosemary is. We just know that she was working with Sister Ruth, so she could be a worker. Oh my God, what?
It's time. Oh yeah, the
Okay,
hand
let me just round up now. Calm down. We just we didn't know who Rosemary is. It's not meant to like build on who Rosemary is, why she would seek vengeance and everything. They decided to introduce Ghost Rider, so a spirit had to like possess Rosemary to seeking vengeance, and yeah, and a lot of the things felt like the man and Koi was stealing in to be a werewolf that kills a victim in full moon. So yeah, I just felt like they would have used the opportunity to build up who Rosemary is, why a spirit is seeking vengeance, that introducing Ghost Rider, a spirit that possess other spirits to seeking vengeance. And yeah, I think that's it. Anyway.
All right. Thanks, Cynthia. Atas.
All right. So, the problem, one of the problems, the biggest issue with this movie, at least as it relates to me, is that it gives me too much time to think. So it gave me a full week after watching part one to sit down and think about part one. And part one was relatively good. And just hope and pray that we weren't going to get hit with the third act curse. And then we got hit with like third, fourth, fifth, sixth act curse. It was it was very interesting. This movie had a lot of audacity. You see it from the themes it chooses to cover, how it chooses to cover them, why it chooses to cover them, and even the decision to keep me waiting for a week. It just screams audacious. But it's unearned audacity, unfortunately, because everything they set up in part one just fails spectacularly. At some point, you can kind of see that Mother Superior remembers that there's a math contest coming up. Everybody just kind of forgets everything that they're supposed to, apparently it's so important that they were supposed to be doing this entire movie. But I just have a lot of questions. Like, why was it so important to not lie in the Upper Palace? Like, it just seemed like it was going to be a bigger thing than it was. If Madam Lady Koi, whatever, can apparently move from village to village, why was she just sleeping for 20 years until Amanda came back? Why did she not go and find them in the villages even with you? Nothing made sense. Like, we got four drawn out sexual assaults in this movie, and the first one was so glaring that a lot of people miss the other, like, don't really kind of skip through the others. But we saw Ibokun get raped. We saw Rosemary get raped. We even see the quiet sister almost get assaulted, and all the assaults have the same thing. Like, they're detailed. They're very focused. Even when they get thwarted, we still spend all this time just sort of ruminating in the rape. And then we have the child, the student, who goes to the forest or wherever they went to with the police officer, and how much time is spent there with that scene and those people, and even like the assault he's attempting. It was a lot. And it just feels like someone had a bunch of fantasies and wrote them down and didn't worry too much else about the rest of the movie, because we don't see any of this detail for any of the killings, even the ones that end. Like, Lashley and his boys, they just die for dying's sake. And even let me collect my thoughts before I get annoyed. But even like freaking Rosemary, the Madame Kwekwe herself, she's so easily convinced. They convinced her the first time. Like, the lady knelt down and convinced her, and she was like, yeah, sure, I'll go stay dormant for 20 years. Comes again after not speaking for 20 years, convinces her again to not murder other people for some reason. They share this unbreakable bond that convinces vengeful spirits not to do the vengeance they want to do just by speaking. Fair enough. So she leaves the village, now is terrorizing other villages. Like, why? Okay, so now she's just pursuing rapists from village to village. Is that the story we're telling? Or is the quiet sister going to need to start a practice where she goes from village to village begging the ghost until she moves on to a new village? Like, what the hell? What the fuck? Why would you do this? I don't understand. I just don't understand. Everything is just a mess. The second detective in command, like, he comes, he's dead or missing. No one cares. Edo still has no loved ones. No students in the school care for him. No one who he was friends with. Like, he's missing. He's dead. No one gives a damn. I guess other than the police officers investigating, who also hear a theory. They don't care to investigate until his hooker tells him, actually, you should consider this. Like, yeah, I don't know what to say, man. This movie was the biggest disappointment of the year, and I can't believe we waited till November to disappoint me this much in Nollywood Film Club. I don't. It was an ambitious idea, so I'll give it that.
All right, fair. Thanks, Atas. Vanessa?
Sure, let's get into it. I think this film was, both episodes were an attempt at setup. And while I know that we beg Nollywood to set up things in their film, set up character motivation, set up things within the plot so that everything makes sense as a full picture. Like the Bible says, too much of everything, it do bad. Set up, you. How do you wait? How do you title the first episode of this thing? The Awakening. And then don't actually show us the awakening until the last 5 minutes of the first episode. And then go on in the second episode to further espouse about the awakening. Oh, I thought you already awakened. So kuku feel like go awake. How do we start with this? Yeah, and then somehow end up in the past. I feel like I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what the major problem of this was. I mean, it has a lot of problems because the story, let's say you don't have it, you don't have like, but the major problem, I not to put a blame at the door of the editor, but Baba editor, kilo day, because a little rearranging could have at least given us something with this 2 episodes. If you had just shown us Mama Sickle Cell and hanging in like the first 5 minutes, while they were giving us that nonsense notice of there's a shield between the real world and the spirit world and the Gbogbo Tigbo, they could have just shown us Mama Sickle Cell in the beginning of the thing and said, Ogbanje ni àwọn children yo, but it's not really Ogbanje o, it's sickle cell yo, and Emi Eson now in what they call it, what's the English word for it? Emi Eson now, I said this word like 2 seconds ago. My God, my brain. Emi Eson inhabited Mama Sickle Cell. If they had said spirit of vengeance have inhabit her body in like the first 5 minutes of episode 1, then we could have origined our origin. Abby, if this is what this is, give us. If you're saying this is an origin, why are you waiting? I thought we were done with the origin. I thought what you gave us in that violent rape at the end of episode 1 was our origin. Alas, the filmmaker said no. You lie. We actually have an origin to the origin. And then you never finish there. You then take us to the thing that leads to the people leaving the village, and then then the daughter coming back to the village. Kilo dead day. Haba. Everything just felt incoherent. Because if we had got out the origin away in the first half, we could have focused on the actual school. Like, how do you set up? This is my thing, right? It's like, I think Mo has used this analogy quite a number of times, and honestly, it is the most accurate analogy and very indicative of how Nollywood approaches films. It's they get a board, and then they just write down a bunch. Everybody just writes down a bunch of ideas on sticky notes, and everyone just places it on the board. And they're like, yeah, we're just gonna touch every single one of these ideas in the film, not caring about whether there's a running thread at all. We're just gonna everything sharp plus the kitchen sink go enter this film, because how? Actually, how do you set up so many things and then just leave them hanging? How do you put Amanda in front of us as who we're supposed to be seeing this thing through her eyes, and Amanda was barely on screen for all of 30 minutes? How? I saw love Jude Chukwuka, love him to bits, but I saw more of Baba Falola than I saw of Amanda. Kilo that day, Amanda is the person whose eyes we're supposed to be going through this with. Amanda is the person who apparently is the reason for the
Sorry,
awakening.
49 minutes.
Oh, it was for. Thank you so much for the.
49 minutes.
See, I was close. For a 2 hour and something film. Our main character was only on screen for 49 minutes. Are we for real? Are we actually for real? And if they're going to
No,
say,
we didn't see her until 49 minutes into the film.
oh, okay, great. Love that for us. But like, if you're saying this is our main character, okay, if you people are gonna say that's not the main character, then if Madame Koiko is the main character, how many times did we actually see Madame Koiko on screen? Not that many times, to be honest. So, like, who again is this film about? What is this film about? Who is this? Like, what? What? And then we hear so much about this bloody competition that has no bearing upon what is going on. You show us Ibukun's violent rape again in the first episode, and then Ibukun just disappears. Like, Ibukun just, I don't know, Ibukun just fizzes away. Ibukun ceases to exist. Ibukun just no. So basically, what was the point? According to Cardi B, what was the reason? What was the reason? This is my thing. I literally kept watching this. I was like, what was the actual reason?
All right.
What was the reason?
Are you?
I mean,
All right.
it's
Okay.
time, baby.
Okay. It's time. All
I
right.
knew that was my time. That's why I stopped.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you. Much appreciated. All right. Timmy, do you want to tell
Tell
us
us.
your issues? Timmy, are you there? All right. Okay.
Yes, I am. I am. I actually don't have much to say because the bads I have, I don't think I'll be able to explain them as well, and I'm almost certain that there'll be some people who will bring them up. But basically, the two things I would say I didn't really like about the part two is the fact that I remember at the end of the first one, or throughout the first one, there was like a kind of focus on the students in the school, and that was kind of how the first one ended. I mean, yeah, the first one ended when Madame Coin was killed, yes, yes, but I don't like the first one had more emphasis on the kids. But then when they went to the second one, the first like 30, if not 40 minutes, I did not see any like continuation from what happened in the first one into the second one, and it was just backstories and flashback, and it was I I so basically that pissed me off. And when they were doing the flashback thing and they brought the woman that way, spirit of vengeance, many many, that was not only unnecessary, but I don't think it even made sense the way they pulled it off. Because okay, people are trying to say like, oh, the spirit of vengeance, she is the person that is actually the Madame Coin, blah blah. The spirit of vengeance exists in the first place. It doesn't really make sense because are you telling me that in that town of Malomo or whatever, it was only in the 1940s that there was somebody whose children had sickle cell back to back in an era where like genetic testing and this were not existing. Are you guys seriously telling me that she's the first person in the whole village that will have children that have sickle cell and they will die in succession? And people would think that, oh, okay, she's a witch, this, that. And when the Baba was even telling the story, and he was like, they didn't know that it was actually sickle cell. They thought she was a witch. How exactly were you even able to know for sure that the children had sickle cell? Did you like how did you come to that conclusion? If all the children died, how were you able? Where did you get the genetic sampling from? Where did you get the blood to do the test from? See, basically, I think those are just the two things that pissed me off the most, and yeah, that's all I have to say.
All right. Thanks, Timmy. I was wondering that thing as well. Thanks for bringing it up. Uchenna, do you want to tell us some of your issues with
Yeah, before I get into my issues, I will say regarding the sickle cell thing, that is pretty much established. Like, for example, in Igbo land, you have the whole legend of Obanje about children who die very young and seemingly come back over and over again at the session. It's been pretty much well established nowadays that is due to sickle cell. There has been genetic testing for that
no
sort of
no no
thing
no no
done.
no 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 no.
Uchenna.
Yeah, you can go. Yes, we didn't know. We can say generally that we didn't know that when a huge amount of children used to die, we didn't know that it was due to sickle cell. But we don't know
We don't know
about
for sure that
Madame
that
Koik.
woman's
Yeah,
children.
we
Yeah,
don't know that's what got.
it's an
It's just
assumption.
an
Sure, we
assumption.
can make an
Yeah, it's
assumption, but
assumption. It's assumption.
so
Definitely.
definitively
Yeah,
that
we
we didn't
didn't know it
know.
was. It's like
Like
he's
a
like
more
he
blanket
knew.
statement of, oh, we didn't know about all these, childhood diseases or,
Yeah,
all these, there's more blanket statement, but like for sure, we knew
yeah.
that it was sickle cell.
Okay, well, I don't agree with you, but I'm not going to make a big deal of it because that is just so minor to me. Yeah, speaking of this, I don't know. There's so many things that didn't work for me here. that I'm not sure I even want to talk about them, and I'm sure that many other people will bring them up in time. So my critique is going to be more on the macro level. Okay, one small specific critique I'll make. That is that I want to take back some of the praise that I had last week for the art direction. Previously I felt that the art direction, the costuming specifically, was so good, mainly because the 90s, I think, especially the early 90s, isn't as an iconic an era as the 1970s or the 1980s. Like, there's this thing where you watch a movie that's supposed to be set in the 70s, and the costuming is so over the top. Everybody's got the huge afro and the platform shoes and the bell bottoms, and because that's what everybody just knows what the 70s is supposed to look like. But I mean, real people didn't really look like that walking on the street. Everybody doesn't look as if they walked off the cover of a Jackson 5 album cover. I mean, they overdo it, and with everybody always touching their hair and stuff like that. Or in the 80s, everybody's got to have a jerry curl, like in Swallow. People who would never have jerry curls in the 80s, like a pastor having jerry curls in Nigeria, that sort of stuff was ridiculous. So I felt that it was nice and subtle in part one. Pearl disagreed with me. She felt that Deyemi looked like he was from the 80s or something, and to some degree that was true, because I feel but I felt that was right, because for a man of his age and his profession in 1991, he won't be keeping up with all the latest trends. He would probably still dress like he dressed 7 years earlier. So that was full. That was cool. But this time around, when I'm looking at it, I don't think they did a good job with it. Like the sex worker's hair. Why does she have 1970s hair? I don't think they really knew what they were doing with the costuming. You saw the police in black uniforms. I can't remember the exact year the police changed to black uniform, but I'm pretty sure that in 1991 they were still wearing blue uniforms. That bugged me a little bit. It's a minor nitpick. My main issue is it's really difficult for me to make this criticism, because when you're criticizing a movie, you can talk about certain things they could have done differently to more successfully tell the story that they were telling. But I feel that once you start telling them that they should have rewritten huge swaths of the story, so that it would have been a different story, at that point, the obvious retort would be, well, if that's the story, that's a different story. And if that's a story you wanted to see, you should make your own movie and tell that story. But in this case, I just feel the movie as a whole told the wrong story. I said earlier that I felt that they misunderstand what Madame Koi Koi is about. And of course, they have the right to artistic license to interpret it as they want. And of course, there is no hardbound text of Madame Koi Koi. It's not like adapting Lord of the Rings, and people can say, no, that's not how it is in the book. It's a legend that's been told a million different ways. But I do think that as a collective memory that means a lot to people, I do think that you have a responsibility to at least honor certain solid precepts. And this stopped being about Madame Koi Koi. It wasn't a story about a ghost that haunts a school. It was a story about the blood trauma that has haunted the town for 50 years. And Madame Koi Koi was just a supporting character in the story of the town's trauma. It's not even a story about Madame Koi Koi. She was just an incidental character. And I think that was a mistake. And it's interesting. At first, I was really interested in the way that they were trying to center it around the abuse of women, the abuse and repression of women, actually, and exploitation of women. And I actually did see an interview with Jay Franklyn a few days ago where he was talking about that was the intention, that right from the beginning they knew they wanted to do that. But, I don't think they really did it properly. And interestingly enough, there is a version of the Madame Koi Koi story that is built around sexual abuse, where Madame Koi Koi, the original teacher who became Madame Koi Koi, was gang raped. And in that version of the story, she was actually raped by the boys in the school. I think that would have been a better story. I mean, like, it seems really weird for me to be complaining. Like, I don't even think that the rape at the center of this story was brutal enough. That's a weird thing to say, but for something that's supposed to be a horror movie, I don't think it was. But then again, I'm not sure it was supposed to be a horror movie, because it looks like they gave up halfway on the idea that this was supposed to be a horror movie. So I feel that it's either they didn't successfully tell the story they wanted to tell, or they did successfully tell the story they wanted to tell, but they just marketed it deceptively because they told us to expect a certain kind of thing, and they gave us something completely different. Also, the idea that this woman's heels are making that sound in the middle of the forest when she was killing the detective, that was kind of silly. And I found it interesting that they were describing the woman. They said that she wears a court shoe, not even high heels. So again, I say this isn't Madame Koi Koi. I don't know what this was. It just was not Madame Koi Koi. And this is not the first film that's been made about Madame Koi Koi, and it probably won't be the last. But this was this has been the one with the biggest profile, and I think they had a great opportunity to do something and maybe a responsibility to do it, and they kind of they forfeited that. So that's just my general macro criticism of it. I won't even get into all the small things that I felt about the overly expository dialogue and some of the bad acting. Not the fault of the actors; it was the fault of the dialogue, and just the way. You know what? I'm sure many other people are going to talk about this stuff, and I'll chime in later if necessary.
All right. No, thanks, Uchenna. Appreciate it. Just going to read a couple of comments that have come through. Dewami says, some actions do not make sense. Why would Amanda's mom allow her daughter live with two strange men? And the aging of the characters based on the timeline was unclear. The Quiet Nun and Madame Superior did not age, but the old man aged. All right. Okay. You can send in your comments. We'll read them. And we have Rotimi next.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so the ultimate winners from last week. So let me put it like this. First of all, from episode 1 to episode 2, it's like night and day. It was slightly underwhelming and disappointing after having the fanfare from the episode 1, and everybody wanted to see the next part to see where it will lead to. Last week, I think it's almost as though like somebody listened to all the bad comments about like the bad part from last week. Then the second part, all the bad things that were from last week, you doubled down. Then all the good parts that we were even leaning to, some of the motivation, some of the nostalgia from all that thing went. Which is two things, which is both from Cynthia and Vanessa. Vanessa made one comment last week, and I was watching the second part, and I'm like, this is what she was talking about. That is either you tell me or you show me, but you can't do both. Which was a lot of this. The thing got, should I say, the beginning of this got dragged by extensive, long exposition. The two Baba Wale and the Babalawo kept going on and on. Then you give me the backstory of what happened in the village after Madame Koi Koi. Okay, that is one. Moving forward, no, we have to go into the backstory of what even made the tree evil. And I'm like, this thing is chopping time. We're following Madame Superior, we're following Amanda, the detectives. No, he has already gone to the police station to tell them this is what happens. Now he goes to the second Babalawo to start telling us about why the tree is evil. And I'm like, this thing has taken, so he sucks all the life out of it. You understand? Then the other thing that Cynthia made mention of it, that if not for the rape, nobody would be emotionally invested. And I'm like, what did me was like, okay, how's this thing going to pay off at the end? And this is from what Uchenna said before, like rewriting the script. But I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm going to attempt to rewrite some things for my own sake. I'm like, if Madame Koi Koi possessed Ibukun and Ibukun killed Lashe and the two other boys, I'll be satisfied more than anything. But Ubukun's rape now does not serve any purpose because Madame Koi Koi is not even, I can't really say it's 100% her rape because the guys did the rituals to purify the land. So Amanda comes back. So Amanda comes back, brings Madame Koi Koi back because she comes back into the town. Then why Ibukun? Then why is this Ubukun's rape? Now, what's key into it? Why does it need to be there? Because Amanda came back. So if Amanda came back, Madame Koi Koi comes back because the person from the three rapists came back. Okay, why do we need the Ibukun's rape? Because we're not going to use the Ibukun's rape to do anything. So, which is like now then going back to the Baba and exposition and with him talking the backstory, all that thing could be sliced down. It could be as he's talking, putting his voice on those things that we could speed it up. It took so much time. and took the whole life out of this thing. Second of all, I'm struggling. Somebody gave me an explanation. Two people gave me the exact explanation because I even asked the director why Mother Superior was arrested. And they said that she was interfering, she covered up the investigation. But my mind is struggling, like, why exactly? I'm struggling. So this is the only thing I can offer to this is that this at the first part, I was open to see where this was going, and I liked the premise. I liked the Madam Quaker. I liked the image of the secondary school, the punishment of the seniors. I even like the making them lashed way as them as villains and everything. Cool. I just now, as I watched the second part, I'm rethinking about okay, everything I watched from before because it doesn't tie up. I'm rethinking the whole story, and I'm like, this story is either two people or two of them together or one of them. Is either I'm following Amanda. Amanda comes into this new school, starts having these nightmares about this strange Madam Koi Koi, and I'm following her, and she's the one that discovers the story of Madam Koi Koi. Or better still, my own extension, let Amanda be the one that gets raped. And she came to this new school, makes a new friend, doesn't know the friends, is rolling around with some bad boys because they want to go and prepare for she's smart in class and the boys rape her, then Madam Koi Koi shows up because Madam Koi Koi was raped before. Do that one. Or you follow DM's character, the detective, trying to discover why these murders are going on, and she leads you into the backstory of this and what happened in this school. That's okay. This thing seems to be connected to this school. One of these two, because we're not following a character, we're just having a story being told to us. And as Cynthia rightly pointed out, it's more about the village than about secondary school. And which is the funny thing that Madam Koi Koi, when we know of it, it's tied to the secondary school. There was more about it. You didn't just give me the village where they raped her. You gave me the backstory of the tree. And I'm like, I don't want to know about it. The tree is evil. I don't want to know why the tree is evil. I don't need to know. Tree is evil. It infected my Koi Koi. Move on. So it's one of those weird things that like, I'm probably, in my mind, I'm like, this thing about Nollywood movies, about building up things, and because I saw people's reaction to the first part. A lot of people liked that first part. A lot of people. I think that if anybody just carries just the first part, all the reactions, and somebody said if it just stopped there, everything will be fine. I'll probably have nothing to pick up. This second part is like there's a tale of two cities for me. Like that first part has all the promise of everything, mother superiors and motivation, the secondary school nostalgia, the Lashes, the bad boys, Amanda having these weird dreams, everything was tied there. Even I could even still stomach. Stomach the rape. I'm like, if the rape tied in, because I saw Madam Koi Koi also get raped, I'm like, okay, this is the connection. But by the second part, Buku does not come back. There's no connection to Buku and the death of them Lashes. Like, even if she's like, they were trying to run away and Ibuku locks a gate and stops them from escaping. Then again, the way them Lashes died instantly, very quickly. I wanted to see those guys suffer. I would have loved to see one person's heart get ripped out, one person's eyes get plucked, one person's private parts get ripped off. I'll be happy for the three of them. Like really, it's one, and that's one thing. Going back to what Cynthia said, or I don't know who was mentioning it. It's one thing to show all the things that happen to the females explicitly. But when the mothers, I don't get to see the mother. At least one. This is the weird thing. Also, yeah. Am I done?
All right.
Am I? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right. No, thanks, Rotimi. Yeah, just in case, if you watch out for, if I put out the hand emoji, that means, your time is done. If not, I will have to come and do the interruption myself. But no, I understand sometimes some people are going through the motions. You don't have time to look at the hand, but yes. All right. Okay. That's out of the way. Some more comments I think have come in. I'm just going to read a couple. I like this one from Dr. N. Why not just name the tree Agbalumo tree, Iroko tree, Melina tree, anything other than the tree near the edge of the forest? That tree was a minor character. That tree was a minor character. It deserved the name. All right. Okay. All right. Next on is I think Nollywood must change.
Now my turn. See, we cannot lie. When I started this part 2, I got to a point. I just put it in play speed times 2 because I was so angry I couldn't just things were just happening. I was like, what's the purpose of all this? I'm sorry. I don't want to repeat what people have been saying. Nothing adds up in this movie. Nothing really adds up in this movie. I knew that nothing good would come out of part two. Actually, I knew nothing good would come out of part two because this movie was just more of, you are not, the characters were passive, the lead characters were passive, they were not doing anything. The whole thing was just running around the students. So you were just using the student and to to move the plot or to make us feel like you have something you wanted to tell us. This movie is not Madame Kokoi. I'm sorry, it's not Madame Kokoi at all. Not it doesn't. Even if you are telling the story of Madame Kokoi, this doesn't work. Someone was saying I could read a comment of someone saying it was exploitative in a way, and I kind of agree with that person. This movie, you are just exploiting Madame Kokoi to to make a film to make people to see it. I'm sorry, I don't like this movie, and like everyone I've seen, I don't agree. Nothing adds up in this movie. That's all I have to say.
Okay, that's quick. Thanks. Not even much change. Next. Any cons? Do you want to? Oh, sorry. It's Wayne's rant. Wayne's rant. Are you there?
Can Onyekon go before me? I'm sure my internet is acting up. I want to quickly fix it.
Okay, Anchor, do you want to go?
Can Onyekon go before me? My internet is shaking.
Okay. I have a lot to say, but 5 minutes is 5 minutes. I think the thing that is most wrong with this is the incompleteness and not being focused in the story, right? We start with, okay, is this like a spit on your grave type of, this is a very particular type of something of like the rape revenge movie, right? I don't see the necessity of the story from the 1940s. From the 1940s. Makes no sense. It's a story supposed to be about, okay, is this story about like the things that happen to women? First of all, I am tired of movies about like women that starts off like, oh, poor women. But like, I understand why it is there, but I'm kind of tired of it because it's so easy and simple. So people just make the most simplistic something and they don't follow the story that they write, right? Is this a story about, if this is a story about women's issues, you should like okay, why not okay, you want to focus it on rape, this is the more bigger one that is focused on rape. What is the 1940s woman doing there? That's not necessarily the town. Okay, it's a vengeance coming for the town, and the townspeople did not completely ignore Rosemary's rape. They kicked out those people and their family line forever. Now it's not a second question about, is this a movie about revenge? And is this a movie? What type of revenge movie is this about? Is this a movie that's saying like, okay, certain revenge is okay, like an eye for an eye, but sometimes this looks like an eye for like 35 eyes, because Rosemary is gone after because she's the blood, and even the fathers and the family of these people can never come back. And this woman still wants this thing. Okay, so it's about revenge. Oh, she goes about like revenging and avenging people. Does not it does not make sense. The thing is this: the first movie is so focused. Even if you think it's stupid, even if you think it's silly, even if you think they didn't really appropriately did everything, it's so focused you can get what the movie is trying to tell you. And this is not the type of movie where it's like, oh, it's open ended and it's like bringing up more complicated questions than necessary, than very more complicated questions, because life doesn't have easy answers. This is not that type of movie. It's so clear that it is the director wanted something bigger and wanted to go big and could not constrain themselves. The reason why we see those quick deaths of the guys that you've made important. You've made these characters important. You gave them a lot of things to talk about. So their death has to be very, very showy, right? It's because they have to constrain resources on the final scene. They have to constrain resources on the final scene, which means go back to your script and change your script. Make those kids not that important. People can do that. That's the one thing I would say in Nigeria. Like, look, you can change your script. Just make sure that you follow your script back to back. Read it. Be like, oh, we made this, but we gave this person this motivation. Okay, we want to change their motivation midway through. It means that we're going to change all this other stuff, all this other parts of writing. You can do that. Like, just do it. I see my thing. I don't even care. Like, they put rape, they put that, whatever. It's okay, whatever. I don't care. What I care about is that you gave me a product where, like, you yourself, I don't want to say don't care, but like, you didn't give a very good product. I can see the seams of your product. I can literally see the seams. And you are in charge of this. This is a constructed world. Go change it. If you know you don't have the money for it, if you know you don't have the resources for it, if you know you cannot necessarily do it very well, you can change it. Or if you filmed and you can't change the film, okay, change, follow the filming. Follow the filming. I understand it, but in life, we don't have our cake and eat it too. Sometimes you just got to work with your constraints. You're Nigerian. That's the thing about life. This movie tried to move on beyond its constraint. The writing, there had to be so many changes in scripts. Nobody asked for the reason why the tree is evil. It even made no sense. Made no sense at all. How come this arbalist was able to see that it was sickle cell something, and the one before was not able to see it? Oh, because they are in the past. What?
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's it. I can't see, since you are saying means that, like, that's it. So this is the thing I dislike about it. It was like, it was so disorganized. I can see the schemes of it, especially when the first one was focused and you just mess it up with the second one. That's it.
All right, thanks, Ayinka. Pearl, do you want to give us your sorry, Pearl, do you want to give us your version of what you did not like about Madam Koi Koi? Pearl, are you there?
Oh, see me, I was already talking. Yes. Just give me 1 second. Let me get to a character, please. Let me just say right off that this movie really knows how to morph across genres. It started out as trying to be a horror thriller. It somehow became a Yoruba epic supernatural drama. At some point, it was a crime and investigation story. And then I think at the end, it circled back to horror thriller. Anyway, it didn't fit any of the conventions. It also created two distinct story worlds, the school and the community, and it somehow did not manage to fit itself in either adequately. This movie was a very peculiar thing. I don't think any movie has ever been this difficult for me since I started reviewing film to even be able to articulate what exactly was wrong, you know. So let me just try. First of all, the coloring. I did not like the coloring. I didn't enjoy those neon colors I saw everywhere. You had mentioned, Mr. C, last week, that red that was kind of pink. We got a proper pink this time. And then after the pink, we also got some greens and some blues and some yellows, just some weird neon colors that I didn't really understand. And then the dialogue was unnatural and forced. There were so many endless and unnecessary scenes, just so much that could have ended up on the cutting floor. We've already talked about the fact that I think the students were forgotten for all of the first 40 minutes, and then we had mentioned that the protagonist, or who we think was supposed to be the protagonist, was missing for all of the first 49 minutes. And then when we did get a protagonist, again, thinking that that's Amanda, she was so passive that the simplest thing she could have done, which was to connect her nightmares to these events that were happening, students, people dying, there was no talk of that. It was just, there's this world where people are dying, strange things are happening, people are talking about it in the hostel, but somehow I don't think it was ever mentioned. Like, I never saw like her even do any work at all. Let's talk about the rape. There's been so much said about it. Yes, it ended up being a plot device. I had been scared of that. Ibukun was never seen again, and I know that the actress who plays Ibukun, she's here. I just want to say I'm so sorry that that happened to your character, because I know that actors really care about their characters, and it really like hurt me to see that happen. In the worst case scenario, I did not expect that that would happen with that character. Like, maybe they might not know what to do with her, but for her to just be erased in that way was just so painful. Now, this movie never actually addressed rape as a topic. It just managed to skirt around it in a way that felt very performative and ended up being very perfunctory. I don't know why there was a community where rape was just so rampant. The investigation was problematic. These investigators, they never traced it through line with what the victims had in common. They never interrogated the villagers about a legend that this thing really happened just 20 years ago. All the people that were there, that were alive then, are still okay, maybe not all, but you know what I mean. But we never saw them actually talk to people from just 20 years ago. That is so weird. When also, this whole thing about everyone is supposed to report to the Oba when they come to the community, was that really a thing? Because if so, was the boarding school exempt somehow? I don't know. And then I know that Amanda's mom went to see the Oba, and then she lied about Amanda's mom being dead. Sorry, father being dead. But it's not about whether the father was alive or dead. It's about what is his name. What was the family? Because she clearly knew his name. I don't think she would have lied about the name, but they didn't ask. Is that how seriously they take it? And then also this whole, the way Baba Fawale narrowed the search to Amanda, all that whole, the person's whatever smell is on you or whatever, and then he just says, I know the last person who came, but there's no indication that Amanda is the last person who arrived, because it did not seem as though she came in the middle of term. Starting with the assembly speech that Mother Superior gave in that assembly, she said, "Welcome to St. Augustine Catholic College." She was addressing the whole school. That sounds like a resumption speech to me. So how is it that Amanda was the only new student or last new person who had just come in? That made no sense to me. This movie had like a real failure to recognize opportunities for emotional payoff. It dropped the ball with the first time Sister Ruth spoke. That should have been a moment. And there were just a few other instances that I think have already been mentioned. My biggest grasp with this film is the way it treated this whole topic of rape, where I can see why low-key, yes, it does have the DNA of rape apologists. On the surface, it seems to decry or execrate rape, but in its handling and the choices that it made in the story, ended up being complicit in these attitudes. There was the misplaced empathy for Mother Superior by Baba Fawale, and somebody has already mentioned that they don't even know why she was arrested. That goes to the fact that this movie really made a huge effort to not address rape directly. It refused to mention it or name it or talk about it. It did not acknowledge this movie did not acknowledge the emphasis on stopping Madame Koi Koi rather than stopping the rapes or whatever the real antagonist. There was so much emphasis. Are you trying to stop me? Am I? Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Yeah. So you guys know what? Rant over, because for me this is just a rant. I'm going to post my review by tomorrow, because I'm so glad I have somewhere to like really vent, because this movie made me so upset in a way that I don't really get upset. I just either like a film or not like it, but not get really deeply pained and aggrieved. Whew, all right. Thank you.
No, thank you, Pearl, and we're waiting for that review. All right, when's Rance? Yes.
Hi, thank you. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of people were trying to go macro. I had a list. And I'll just try to go through my list as quickly as possible. First of all, I spoke about the fact that I like the fact that they were intentional in the first film. However, I found that they were not. Apparently, Amanda is 14. Amanda being 14 in SS3 is I was 14 in SS3 and I was really young, and that was in like 2014, 2013. And when I got to secondary school, I don't think I had any seniors that age. So also, Sister Ruth has to be like a soothsayer because it seemed as though Sister Ruth was watching the film with us because she just had all this information. Someone that was essentially cut off from the world. In the end of the film, she was just telling us, don't kill, don't commit vengeance against like. How do you know why the spirit wants to kill the girl? Like she just knows everything. Anyways, people have said this: the rape doesn't pay off, so it was just nonsense. I don't want to hammer on the rape thing because everyone has already said it. That obviously the writers of this film think rape is a plot device and just wanted to use it to yeah to tell their story. Part two has so much exposition also, and it's really upsetting, especially that end scene when they arrest Mother Superior and Sister Ruth is like, "Oh, this school means so much to her." Like we know, I spent 2 hours watching this film. I know she was covering up rape scenarios because of we know this school means so much. Like, okay. The fact that a Catholic school principal has a hitman on call, that thing is just made me so like it just reminded me like how did she just have a guy that was willing to kill somebody just beside her? Is it a thing they do? Is it like normally, once somebody is doing one or two, they just kill the person, or that guy just doesn't have any moral compass? That's like, okay, let me just kill this baba. Um, the film starts with making this big fuss about the fact that the state wanted to take the school, and it's a thing. My school, I went to an Anglican school. We also had this thing where they are taking the school, and then the church finally got it back from the state. So it was a thing. The government was trying to take schools, and then um, 4 of your students get killed. Um, 4 of your students get killed. One other random teacher gets killed, and then the principal of the school get arrested. And this state that was trying to take the school all throughout the film just forget. They're like, it's fine, we don't really care anymore. So that the people can just bring on Sister Ruth as the new principal or as the new person in charge of the school, and it's all fine. This competition that was supposed to be the thing that keeps this church in charge of the school. Nobody goes to the competition because they all died, right? So it's just like I think it was Vanessa that was talking about the fact that there's so much like they are setting the groundwork and so much build up, but to nothing. Like we are just building, and we don't go anywhere. People have said that it's obviously not about Koiko's story because obviously it's such a stretch because this is the story of a vengeful spirit that takes over a woman that was raped. Finished. There's literally no. The only time this story is connected to Madame Koikoi is when the scene with the hooker where she says, her shoes make koi koi. That's the only time they try to link it, and it's just a very lazy thing. I probably have like 1 more minute, so let me end. Wait, is my time up? Because Yoriko's sorry, your hand is up, so is my time up?
Oh, no, it didn't come down from the last time.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Idowu has like nobody just cares about Idowu. Do you get like this boy gets killed, nobody cares. Like Mother Superior just doesn't care because she's always like his parents will reach out to me, the police cannot say, okay, give me this God, I don't even want to start. I'm really very upset because it was just a very nonsense thing to do to all the audience. I get very, very emotionally attached to films and characters, and films are like an escape for me. And they were just shitting on everything. Okay, I'll say one more because my list is really long. I'll say one more thing and then I'll just end. I was so angry that I started nitpicking. So if you see the police scene, there is on the board, you can see 08-14-1991. And I'm like, is he an American that wrote this date? Because if it's an American that wrote it, then I mean, in Nigeria, why would they write it in the American style? And then if you go to the scene when they're in class, it is 12th of March. So they are telling me, these people are telling me that between the time Idowu was killed and this time is 5 months. 5 months of, see, let me just end here.
All right. Thanks, Wayne's rant. I think We've got everybody on. Mrs. C, you're going to be next, but let me read a couple of comments that have come through. I think Sabrina says, also my problem is how was the police able to take Amanda out of the school without the school's permission? Did she hide in the boot? Orb says, yes, Amanda's role was passive. I've said a lot of things. Orb says it should have been 2 more episodes. And says kicking them out was not enough. They should have been castrated. All right. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Okay. Mrs. C.
So I found part 2 exhausting. I think earlier I asked was like, what is happening? And that's how I felt throughout so much of part 2. So Mother Superior's School of Gaslighting was so exhausting in part 2 because all I could think of, and again, I know we'd mentioned how repetitive it was in the first part, but in the second part, all I could think of was, okay, to what end? Right? Because if you're going to give me someone like Madam Superior who is a smart woman, a scheming woman, whatever, there has to be some plan, right? She's not an ostrich. She can't just put her head in the sand and just keep it pushing, because the character they gave me wasn't supposed to be a fool. So and the consistently telling the police any day now Idoru's parents will call me. Someone just mentioned, where's the phone number, right? Why are the police not calling themselves? What is the end game, right? How is a student gone missing at the same time that a dead body was found in the bush in the school uniform, and the administrators, the government that are trying to take the school have not shown up? Why are you putting things in there that you're not going to use at the end of the day? Why are you giving me the threat of the school being taken care of, being taken away, but it's not a real threat because the student can go missing in her watch while a dead body is found and nothing is going to happen? And this might feel like a nitpick, but Madam Superior being so mustache twirling, she's going to send a girl to go read alone with 3 boys at 7 p.m. in a boarding school is so far out of the realm of possibility in any Nigerian boarding school. There is no way in hell that is happening. And again, this is supernatural, whatever. Not everything has to be, realistic, but allow me to give me limited places to suspend my disbelief. I shouldn't have to suspend it for everything. You're asking too much of me. Again, I think it's been mentioned, this film just forgets about these characters. I know I said I'm glad I didn't have to see Lachey too much in part 2, but that's just because I did not enjoy his acting even a little bit. But oh my goodness, they forget about these people. They forget about Amanda. They forget about these boys. And when the boys got killed, right, these boys that you spent so much time in part 1 making them such villains that their deaths are supposed to be cathartic and, something, I thought it was a flashback. When they got killed, I thought they were flashing back to Idoru's death. That's how fast it happened. I had no clue they had actually died until Amanda was running. Then, honestly, I think they just lost the plot. They didn't know how to advance this plot. They didn't know how to... I think they had an idea and they didn't know how to execute. Because DMA's character says, Madame Koi Koi is just circling the school. And it's like she's making her way to the school. What? What do you mean she's making her way to the school? Is Madame Koi Koi incapable of walking a straight line? Is she just going around in circles? I mean, her target is Amanda, right? Because it was always Madame Koi Koi will finish killing when she finishes her revenge, right? Which is on the men that raped her, I imagine, and their families. Then she will turn on the village. She doesn't start killing till Amanda shows up, but Amanda is the last person she goes after. Don't tell me something Don't tell me this is how it's going to be, and then give me something else, and then shoehorn, oh, she's making her way through to a... Again, I'm exhausted as I'm trying to explain what I did not like about this film. But I found this film very exhausting. Part 2 was so underwhelming, and it just... I think they got lost. The third act curse was this whole part 2. All of it was the third act curse, and I would have. I wish they stopped at part 1 and just left it at that. And then like the Madame Koi Koi herself, I don't like that. That was just, I think, an aesthetic variance. I don't like her character design. I don't like her. I don't like when I think Madame Koi Koi. I know, like, there's some stories where Madame Koi Koi has been beaten and whatever and all of that. But Madame Koi Koi she's put together. There's a bit of this is a werewolf. This is a werewolf, and make me a werewolf movie or make me Madame Koi Koi. Don't mix and match it. Anywho, yeah, this film was exhausting. I don't like it. I think they forgot about their lead characters. They ran away with the plot, and they had an idea. They just really, really struggled to execute. And I wish they'd just taken more time and done more treatments of this, and just asked why more often. Like when they gave characters actions and when they moved the plot to a certain point, I wish they would ask, okay, why is this character doing this? Why would they do this? What is the goal? What is their goal? I feel like if more effort had been put into thinking why the characters are doing what they do, I think especially with someone like my Mother Superior, and don't tell me, oh, the school is important to her, means nothing. That's nothing. I think if those questions had been asked, we would have gotten a better part 2.
All right, thanks. You tell me, said.
No.
Wow, this corruption. All right. Okay, so for the things I did not like, all right, it's my list. All right, so let's start from small nitpicky type things. I don't think it was a good idea to show the picture of ID on the poster, because it's like that's a person people can't recognize. It's like I can recognize him, and I guess, to be honest, the Baba could recognize him, but it wasn't. They had a picture of his face being, a little mad, but it's still very recognizable. I thought that was not a shouldn't have had that in there. I have Amanda's dream of dead students. We got showed that 3 times or 4 times. I can't remember.
So many times.
Just no point in that. So actually, that is part of. I shouldn't have gone there because that's a bunch of some setups that, like Vanessa touched on, that didn't come up. But I just thought so many things were given texture that shouldn't have been. Last time, I think part of what I mentioned was the texture. But no, there's something else, like, because it just feels bloated. We're giving time to things that aren't interesting and I don't care about. It doesn't feel central to the story. Like when they are cutting their fingers off, it's like, is this gonna have a point somewhere? Like it does. Would you not cut it like it's just like butter? Like they're cutting. It just felt. It kept on adding all these things where all it did was bloat. Gave it bloat. Like when Baba comes to look for, I guess, his father's replacement. Essentially, they give us a whole story why it's not backstory, how it's not father, and it's so long-winded and unnecessary, and I don't care. I don't. Couldn't he just have been the Baba, and did he have to be the Baba's son? Or like, just why do we put? What's the point? What's the point? Yeah. Mothers. The children. Secondary school nostalgia, all of that. This is part of like Rotimi was talking about how a lot of the things, it's like they listen to the space and a bunch of the things we liked to just, all right, we just take that out, and a lot of the things we complained about, Here's more. Exposition was crazy, crazy in this one. Wow. I think last week we talked about Mother Superior's motivations and how it was, or like, hey, at least it's nice we gave Mother Superior some motivation, character motivation for doing what she did. But now we look back and she's always been telling people to just keep quiet about rape. It's like, so what's the point of setting up her as, at some point, like she's, even in part two, she's like, people wouldn't understand the pressure. And you think that's the wording of someone who, the point is that, it's the pressure of the work, quote unquote, that's making her do some of the terrible stuff she's doing. Yeah. But it's not. She's always been a terrible person. It just shows like because like, I don't know if there was some work there, they didn't show it, but like all that just seems is that she's always been a terrible person who has been excusing rape. So like, he just robbed her of the character motivation he gave us in chapter 1. It just didn't seem like a good idea to do that. Anyway, so, and I started mentioning some of the things that they set up in part 1 that just didn't come to anything. Amanda's dream of the dead students, setting up teachers, that sleep with kids, also amounts to nothing. Ibukun's rape, I'm going to come to that later on. I can see a point where maybe they have a thing they want to do with it, but I still think it was definitely not needed for the amount of bad things. How graphic it was, it still just felt gratuitous to me. And just to cap this off, I don't think it does Madame Koi Koi origin justice. Number one, basically all of Madame Koi Koi's origin is told in a flashback and through somebody's mouth. That's it. This could have been any other movie about where she's already been established, and we could just, hey, by the way, Madame Koi Koi existed a few years ago or something. Like, even, like, usually in the origin stories, they'll tell you how she gets her name. Like, not they'll tell you, because like her name is so important, because that's what they did in this one. They just say it. They would, there'd be a thing that you go, oh, that's how this turns into the name, and this how the myth begins. But like, the sex worker just says, hey, there used to be a babe with a shoe. It's called her Koi Koi or something, because clicks are. I'm like, you could have done this in any film. It's not an origin story if you're just going to just exposit the backstory of Madame Koi Koi. It felt cheap for what was supposed to be an origin story. So yeah, that's my general gist. Okay, all right. So before we go into Pushback, does anybody have any extra thing they wanted to add?
My hand is up.
Yeah,
it was me. So I was a bit heated in my initial bad, so I didn't get all my thoughts out. We kind of slightly brushed on it in the earlier parts of this, but funny how it wasn't like Sister Ruth was traumatized by Madame Koi Koi / Rosemary's appearance for her silence. It was Mother Superior saying, don't say anything. And baby girl really said, I'm going to take that to heart and I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to keep quiet.
And I thought I missed something. I was like, wait. Is it because they told her not to say anything about it? She was like, fine, I guess I'm never speaking again.
That is the reason they gave.
That is literally the reason. Bet.
My God.
Like, and then they had the effrontery to get her to say at the end, sitting on the stoop of the stairs with Baba Fawole, she stole my voice.
I was like, wow.
Not the traumatizing, see the supernatural thing. Is
No,
the
he's
No.
not that one
she stole my voice from me. Abba.
for 20
So
Abba.
years?
what
You
I
kept quiet.
sorry.
Are
What
we
I
serious?
speculated was
My thing is this. I don't even mind that as a storyline. I actually don't even have a problem with it because on a very baseline level, the truth is that when traumatic events happen and people are told to suppress it, it's in effect stealing their voice. Yes. But not just that one scene where Mother Superior goes, nobody should know about this. I'm like, okay. And it's like you're not giving us a pattern of behavior. I mean, the only other person I guess Mother Superior has told to not speak about rape was Ibukun, right? I don't know, man. It just felt everything in this felt super, super, super unearned. And while it was great to see Bolaji Ogumola in this, I don't know what she added. I because the truth is nothing about her story about how she met Amanda's father was proof that Amanda's father was one of the rapists, except the fact that she just said yes, that's him in the picture. And honestly, if we could have just had yes, that's him in the picture and moved on from that scene, because I don't think anything in that scene was proof that the man was one of the rapists. All it showed us was that he was a degenerate person who was still as irresponsible as he was from the beginning. The rest of the long story about how he abandoned her when she was pregnant and all of that really had no bearing. And this is the thing, they spent so much time on stuff that had no bearing. And like Rotimi said, that tree could have been evil for just evil's sake. There was no need for the woman with the children who was assumed by the narrator had sickle cell. The tree, if you have given us a note in the beginning of part one that says there is a veil between the supernatural, I keep saying that thing because I saw that. I paused to read that note, so I take it very personal. You pause and you tell us that note is that there is a veil between the human world and the supernatural world. Why do we need an excuse as to why the tree is bad? Tree here is just evil because that is the veil, Abby. There is no need for the extra explanation as to what led to the tree being evil. The tree is possessed because the tree is possessed because it is the veil between all this. Sometimes the Nigerian Nollywood needs to learn to resist to shalaye. And I know I've said it before, but honestly, they need to resist the urge to shalaye, because shalaye is the reason why all of this is happening in this film. They are trying to explain so much that doesn't need explanation. Show
Yeah.
and don't tell.
I,
Um,
I have to quote.
let me give the
Sorry,
benefit of the doubt.
I want to just quote. Sorry, I want to quote this. This is just a banger. Shifumi says, "Ruth's case was: were you silent or were you silenced?"
Silenced.
A banger.
I'm
And
sorry.
I
Did
have
that person
to.
put the Oprah meme there? Because I need the Oprah meme when she draws her hand and says silenced. Because yes, that was exactly it. Were you silenced or were you silenced? I, and I know I said it last week and I've tweeted it before. For a film that was purported to be horror, to and I said it before, to go through with putting these rapes and sexual assault scenes on screen and then screaming at just being very squeamish at just showing them cutting finger. Finger, oh, one finger. I need you people to put this in space. One finger. Is one finger that they cut, oh. One finger. That's what
I'm
they were
going.
afraid. That's what they were afraid to show on the screen. Is it today that we see finger being cut?
I think the reason why is because it is easier to shoot a rape scene than to give a realistic death or finger something. So
It's not a Koishe need that we
I'm
cut
gonna
a
have
finger.
to.
so I I I,
Whilst
I think
whilst
because
I
they didn't
agree,
have that
I just
practical
think you
something.
could have given more flavor to even the variety, the way you showed the death. Because like
Exactly.
just show again, like I said last week,
Yeah.
show like
Mm.
limbs are being sparse. You can
Literally,
they
just
did a
throw
lot of
limbs up and
practical.
down in the air.
I'm
Do
just
something.
giving like what the
Honestly, all we
Well, I
got,
person
get
all we
it.
got was
thinking.
red light. All we got
Because
was red light and vibes.
this is the reason why I think is definitely the person. Obviously, I'm not saying this is people can be in the same constraint and bring and come up with different ways to a simple to the same issue. But I'm thinking because it makes no sense to have Baba change.
There's no
And
excuse. All of this amounts to is a lack
this
of
is not. It's not.
imagination.
I
It is
think
a
people
lack
are
of
this.
imagination and
It's not.
incompetence.
It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. Again, it's not an excuse. I'm saying I am looking it from their perspective of why this thing could possibly
There is no
possible.
perspective to look at. It is a
That's
lack of imagination and incompetence.
I agree. I agree. Look. I agree.
yeah,
I
but
agree. Look, yeah, I am on your
because I
side,
agree
Vanessa.
with
Vanessa. I totally agree with what you're saying, but
there's no but.
sometimes you
The
do.
but is a
Look,
disagreement.
no, my butt stands. Like I still believe in the fact that you have to look at things from other people's perspective, even if you don't want to.
They should look at it from my
Look. Let me
perspective.
finish.
Maybe not, but it's okay. They should be
What you're saying
Vanessa,
is
I
that
agree with
yes,
you, Vanessa. My
What you're saying is
judgment
that
is your
it's hard.
judgment.
What you're saying
My
is that it's
judgment is your
hard
judgment.
to show from this perspective, but it's from their perspective they would have thought is more difficult. But it doesn't change anything.
It doesn't
Vanessa,
change the
I
or
don't
fact that
think
it's still a
I'm
lack
not
of
I don't know,
creativity
guys.
and
I'm not saying it
incompetence.
changes anything. I'm not saying it changes anything. I'm just
what are
saying
we saying now?
like
There's no point of the
that's
there's no point of the
why
but.
we have what we have. It's not saying that it changes anything. It's just I'm just saying
It's
that's
not a
why we have
why
what we have.
though.
You guys are pushing me to somewhere else.
We're saying there's lack of creativity, and you're saying yes, but there's lack of creativity. It's not that that's the pushback
It's
against
not
your
a why. It's
pushback.
just what it
I'm
is.
not
They
pushing.
lacked
Look here, I'm not pushing
creativity.
back against anything. Are you guys not listening? I'm not pushing back against anything. I am giving an understanding of why we have what we have. It's
I
not a
There's
know what
no
pushback
you're
against
saying.
why.
anything.
It's just not an understanding because
It's
the
there.
understanding, the
Why
point of
can't you?
it's not. That's what I'm just saying. It's like hearing what you're saying. It's just not because like what we're saying is that there
No,
was a
you're
lack
not
of
getting what I
creativity.
agree with you guys. I agree with you. I
Okay,
don't think
but there's no
that
buts there. You can't say yes, I get it, but from their perspective, it
you
was
can't say yes, but
I
no,
know
no.
you can't too
It
because
you're not
doesn't. It
listening to
doesn't
me.
make
You
what
guys
I'm
like
saying.
you
I'm
can't
not
say
saying
yes,
that.
but
I'm
what
not
is
saying
this?
like you can't have the opinion. You can have the opinion, but it doesn't make sense.
It's
It's
not like again, my
contradictory.
opinion is Vanessa's opinion. I am saying that why they did the thing why they did. Again, you can't have an opinion and say like they probably from the director's point of view. It's called point of view. You can understand a point of view and not necessarily agree with it. From the
Mm,
director's point of view, that's what I've been explaining. I'm not pushing
no.
back on anything. I'm not on their side.
But right.
Okay?
The point is
I
that
also did not. It's like I'm just saying
think
that
that
we can still
The point
understand from other
Vanessa
people's
was
point of
making,
view.
the point Vanessa was making was that they're
I
not.
understand the point
Wait,
Vanessa is making.
no, you don't because you keep
Yes,
on
I
repeating.
do. I
You
truly
don't.
do.
All right, let me tell you why I don't think you do. Because
Well,
if
you don't think I
let me
do, but I do.
okay, all right.
There's a
So
difference between that.
okay, from Vanessa's point of view, what she's saying is that she thinks there is a lack of creativity / competence. And from your point of view, you're saying yes, but
That's not my point of view. I keep on saying
I
this.
haven't said your point of view
My
yet.
point of view is
Oh my
Vanessa's
God!
point of view.
Wait. I'm saying you're saying yes, but from their point of view, they'll be seeing it as it's more difficult, and it is harder to shoot the death scenes. Those things are not contradictory. That's what I'm saying.
That's
Vanessa
what I've
is
been
saying.
saying too.
I'm just saying
That's why I keep
that
on saying
while
there's
it is
no
not
need.
contradictory, it
But
has
you
no bearing.
you
It has
guys.
no bearing for me. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Okay, we can move
All
on.
I'm
All
doing
right.
is explanation. I'm not giving judgment. I think people confuse a lot of times when people give explanation as though it's judgment. There's a difference between judgment and explanation. We have to see, like, I'm explaining why the person, why they spent enough money, why they thought that it was okay for them to spend
Okay.
enough money on the rape something that traumatized me, and like not do that, not spend like money on actual blood and something. From their point of view, they're saving money.
Okay.
They're saving money. It's that simple.
All right. Okay. So, do we have any other pushback or anything?
It's not a pushback.
Do we have
The
pushback?
pushback makes it sound like I agree
I'm
with
trying to
them.
move
It's
on
not a
now.
pushback.
I'm trying to move on. Where I've heard you. When the pushback section now, we're getting to places where anybody can talk about something like they disagreed. I do want to say that from even though I completely don't agree with going the extent of what Ibukun's rape was. The point of it was supposed to be that this is the beginning of Mother Superior's. She's the continuation of what Mother Superior has been doing before since Ruth's time. Did we need to see? We didn't even need to even see it, to be honest. But yes, her rape was not completely pointless. The showing of it was definitely gratuitous and unnecessary, though.
The showing of it was completely pointless because
yes, I agree.
I think honestly,
I do agree with that.
Yeah, it had, because it wasn't an inciting moment for Madame Koi Koi. If we're going by what they showed us, the inciting moment was her face.
Yes.
Amanda returning back.
I think if she had just come back, telling Madam,
if she had just come back
works
crying,
just as well. Because I think again, like the strength of this film was in the systematic sort of how a system can help cover up horrible things like rape.
And they could have done all of that without the conclusion.
Without all of that.
Yes,
it was completely.
Completely. And we wouldn't be having all the conversation that we've had, because the truth is, if they had taken out all of that nonsense and focused more on this systematic issue, while also buttressing it with a bit of gore and throwing limbs up in the air and all of that, honestly, I think 90% of the people who watched this would have been satisfied. This film could have very well just begun with Idowu's death, and we would have seen limbs flying around in the forest, and we're wondering, okay, what is going on? And then Ibukun comes running and crying, and Mother Superior very harshly and very quietly dismisses her. And then we move into the rest of showing us a pattern of Mother Superior's dismissal of things that are going on, while still also dealing with all, like, this film could have been so easily a one-parter and gotten straight to the point. But no, Nollywood must shalaye, and they shalayed and shalayed and shalayed until the shalayed did not make sense anymore.
All right. Okay. Ochen, did you want to? Oh, sorry. I think it's Timmy. Timmy, please, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I think Vanessa has already said what I wanted to say, because when he was talking about the whole finger thing, what I wanted to say was, at the end of the day, the seriousness that they used to depict the rape scene, it was just given like, oh, somebody wanted a fantasy that they wanted to just do, because you put so much seriousness, so much effort into showing this rape scene, but at the end of the day, the rape doesn't really serve the story in any way. Somebody was mentioning how someone I know talked about how in Citation they showed the rape scene as well, but at least in Citation that was like very vital to the story. For this one, it wasn't. But then you put so much effort into showing a rape scene. I mean, yeah, sure, it's a film. You can, I don't know, do whatever it is you want. But I feel like when you're going to do something as sensitive as rape, I don't know, there's just a way that you should handle it. And the fact that it added nothing to the story just, yeah, I'm sorry.
No worries. Thanks, Timmy. Pearl, do you want to, Pearl, did you want to say something?
Oh yeah. The only thing I have for pushback is to say that I can't remember who said this movie could have used 2 more chapters. I just want to say that this movie could have used 1 less chapter. I think this is the case of where, like, you just have too much, and it's kind of like you don't know what to do with it. Like, yay, Whereas if you had less, maybe it would have forced you to be more structured. This plot was so loose, and it just needed to be really tightened up. So no more, please. Like, this movie just really needed less. Like, that first part with just maybe a small extension, and they would have told a really beautiful story. That's all.
All right. Thanks. Thanks, Pearl. Ichana, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I think I just want to push back on something that Cynthia said. She said that, the 14-year-old seduced the adult detective. I didn't see that. And she said they had consensual sex. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I think of a
That wasn't the point
14-year-old.
she was making. Sorry to cut you there, Uche, because
Sorry?
Cynthia isn't on here. That wasn't the point she was making.
What was the point?
The point she was making was that the filmmakers very pointedly put in those scenes where the student walks into the room and in whatever way was making suggestive glances at what's his face. I agree. Out of the order, there's no seduction here. He still is the asshole. But the point is she was making was the filmmakers pointedly put in these scenes to kind of be rape apologists in a very underhanded way. That was the
I
point she
don't
was
agree.
making.
I don't agree with you there because they.
Sorry. I've been on the waiting list for about. Why is my phone off? Oh, is my mic on? Yeah. So I've been on the waiting list for more than an hour. So let me say my point. So my point was the filmmakers move as rape apologists. Okay. So we had Idowu and the other guys, Lachey. Idowu was made to he didn't want to rape her. He was forced to rape her. He was remorseful. Throughout this movie, we saw that if you go out of the school, you have to pass the evil forest, okay? But they made sure that the character they killed was Idowu, which was the remorseful one. And when they killed Bashe and the other characters, they killed them because they were in their way of Madame Kwekwe killing Amanda. It had nothing to do with the rape. Now, for the police officer, so before they killed the police officer, they wrote a student's character that walked into Mother Superior office and made her to be like, oh, she's trying to seduce this man. Then they took two of the characters outside, they put them in an evil forest, and it's talking about and Shebi, I bought for you provisions and this and that. Now, my point was these things like, oh, what is she wearing? She tried to seduce a man. She collected a gift from a man. That's why she's raped. It's some of the things they used to blame rape victims. So in the two characters that they killed that attempted rape or were rapists or something, they made sure that they were giving a little bit of excuse. He was even remorseful about the rape. And she collected provision from him. Okay? That was my point.
Okay,
Yeah.
if that's your point, I still disagree with you though.
Okay.
Because again, there's nothing that showed that student seduced him. She
No, I
smiled at
just
him.
actually. Can I say that? I actually saw. Sorry, Jenna. I let me make a slightly different point to her, but I did see that actually. She does intentionally. Yeah, she does intentionally walk across him. I think she has to bring tea or something.
Yes.
But she walks across him and she clearly gives him the eyes.
Listen, like at that age, young women are
sorry. Let me just make
What we're saying is no one is blaming her here.
Nobody's blaming her.
The use of the word seduction is blaming. Because at that age,
okay, selection is my problem.
Right,
okay, selection is the problem.
Can I finish my point though?
Wait, Uchenna, let me make a slightly different point, and then you can respond to both of them. I'll let you respond to both of them. So, what I saw was slightly different, and I see where Cynthia has gotten her version from. What I saw was like somebody who it could have been the girl needed more character development for what they were trying to do. Because yes, I thought it was definitely callous to make her that kind of person, give him the eyes, sort of almost like in my head, she's using him to get provisions, but like it's so you have to do so much thinking of what they're trying to do for what this kind of character is going on, because all they show is she gives him the eyes. They go out, like Cynthia said, they go out to get provision, and he gets her provision, and she's quite close to him. Like the only thing she doesn't want to do, we see her not wanting to do is like taking it further, right? In my head, right, what they were trying to write, and again, Cynthia has the right to this interpretation because it's just not clear on paper and on screen, was they were writing a character who might have been a bit flirtatious, who wanted to use a man for provisions, did it and just didn't want to do the extra things of having, of course, having sex and all other things. And he was pushing further for extra things, and like it didn't. Thank goodness nothing but that happened. But that's what I saw. Okay, now you can respond to.
Okay, yeah. Okay, at this point, then I disagree on two different levels. Well, I feel that at that age, you have young women discovering their sexuality and understanding the effect that it has on men, and yes, trying to push the boundaries of how they can use that to benefit themselves. I don't see that as seducing him. Number one. Number two, I don't think, even if she was supposedly seducing him, I don't see that as rape apology. I mean, these are supposed to be complex characters. You don't have to make him like a mustache twirling, growling rapist in order to show that he's bad. He's still bad, even if a 14-year-old is supposedly shaking her ass in front of you. As a grown man, you're supposed to know you're not supposed to do that. So he's still bad. Showing that she was flirting with him doesn't make him less bad. So I don't see that as a form of rape apology in any form. And for you, Mr. C, you were suggesting that that they just went and got provisions, and he was trying to take it further. At one point when they're in the forest, he says something like, when she says that she wants to go behind the tree to change, I think he said something like, "I already saw everything," like Patrick Stewart. So I mean, doesn't that? I mean, that suggests they already did stuff. You know what I mean?
No.
So
So what he says is, what are you doing that I haven't seen before?
Yeah.
That's the wording of that. And also, like, I don't know how you can both hold that she wants, like, at this point, women are trying to, like, push the thing of their sexual boundaries. And also, even if she doesn't have any intention of sleeping with him, what she is doing is like she's pushed. I don't know. Like, it seems like you're going all the way, but like we're having a semantical disagreement of the word seduction.
Because
Oh, yeah.
again,
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. My disagreement, my initial disagreement with Cynthia was mostly semantic, to be honest. Of course, I can see that she was sort of making eyes and flirting with him, but I didn't like the use of her word seduced. But beyond that, I still don't agree with her idea that making her flirt with him somehow is an apology for his actions on the part of the filmmakers. I don't agree with that. I mean, so yeah, a little girl flirts with you, and you go ahead and you take up the proposition. That is not an apology for that character. That just makes that character all the more stupid.
You are thinking about it only from yourself, and there's a larger Nigeria that exists outside of what you think. And the way Nigeria receives these stories very much places some of the onus on the child initiating the interaction. And it would be a great disservice to the story, the writers telling the story, and the context with which the story is set in, to not recognize that, because you don't consider, I don't think a child can seduce you. If a child comes over here with cocaine and tells me to put it in my nose, I'm going to say no, obviously. However, presenting the option to you in the first place, the way Nigeria receives that already weakens the adult's responsibility to it, because they see the seduction. They consider a seduction. Children get married in those parts, and so it's not considered necessarily. It creates an excuse for the policeman, because he did not initiate the interaction. She, quote unquote, did with her eyes, and they made a conscious choice to throw that in there, whether we like it or not.
Here's the thing. I think you need to give your people a bit more credit. I understand what you're saying. Yes, I know there is a segment of Nigerians.
It's not a segment, Richard. Nah.
This is the
thing. It's not a segment. We're not coming for that.
No. There is a segment of Nigerians who think the way that you do, that you're describing. Yes, I know that is true. But I think if you look at the intentions of the filmmakers, to the extent that they're even presenting the idea of this man coming onto this compound and immediately ogling teenage girls, the way you can tell that they are not aiming at that audience. You have to give them a little bit of credit that they are hoping that the audience they're trying to reach with this is a bit more sophisticated than that. Now, you may
Okay, so
say
while I may,
that their hopes are too high. I don't know, but
But
I
yeah,
then he
don't think that's
doesn't
what they did.
pursue any other student but the
yeah,
one that makes eyes at
yeah.
him.
And
So
I
Can
would
it's
like
I
to
say,
say
an
you're being
unconscious
very
decision.
generous by referring to
Yeah,
this
like
as a
consciously or
segment. I
unconsciously,
think
they
you
made
should
a
be saying
decision.
the vast
yeah,
majority, because saying a segment is not the
yeah,
reality of the Nigerian society.
yeah,
If we're being very factual, this is not a segment. It is
yeah.
a very large
It's
I'm
a
majority.
as pessimistic.
significant, it's a significant
As
side.
anybody. I'm as pessimistic about anybody about Nigeria. But to be honest, in this
Uchenna,
case,
when was the last time you lived in Nigeria?
All right, okay.
what do you mean by lived?
All right. Okay. Okay.
Like
Okay.
living.
All right. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. 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 Let's not take it to that essence. I think what people are saying. I think there's a disagreement of what segment of people you think can interpret this differently. I actually, whilst I interpreted it differently, I completely see again that's why I said even if I think even if we I think the filmmaker was doing what was on my side. I thought the filmmaker did a poor job of conveying that message. Of all the things that they decided to give weight to, and all the things they decided to bloat us with, the way they handled that character, that interaction, I thought was well undercooked, and it leaves too much room for interpretation for other on yeah, these kind of things, which is I think is a point. But if we disagree with I think everybody has agreed that all right, I can see where this person's side can come from. I can see how people can introduce that, and maybe we're just not argue about where the line is and all of that. So, all right.
So, in summary, we have reached the agree to disagree section of today's film club.
I did want to move to Wayne's rant. Cynthia, is it still about the thing?
No. So Wayne's rant can talk. I'll talk after. It's not about stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Alex, do I need to not talk about the thing at all? Because I was going to say something about it and move on. Should I just ignore and just see what are my own other things?
Yeah.
Yeah, to what, my love?
I don't. What were you going to talk about? Just when the pushback section. I'm sorry, I missed the parts. I don't know what.
No, I was going to say something about what Uchenna was saying, but since we rounded, we just rounded that thing and we're like, just move on. Okay.
Except if you think you have a slightly something that's not been.
No, but I think one of the things Uchenna was saying 14, and I was the one that I don't know, I wasn't around for a while, but I was the one that said Amanda is 14. And because Amanda was born in 1997, and this year of this film is 1991. So Amanda is 14. However, Idowu is 17, based on what I saw. So I think the general age of students around that time wasn't, I think they were like in their 17, 18s. I don't know if we can say the age of the girl that was attempted, the attempted rape scene. But I think that also back to what I think Cynthia was saying, is that when you write a character like that, you leave too many interpretations, and because when I watched it, like Uchenna, I didn't see it as, oh, because she was doing this is like line sense or some kind of apology. But the fact that you leave the story open-ended like that, you give people the chance to interpret it anyhow they want to. That's what I was going to say about what Uchenna said. I had like two bad things that my emotions didn't allow me to see. I just wanted to add it. The police people, they found out everything about those four in one day. Not even one day, from morning till afternoon. I don't even think the FBI can do that. Like Nigerian police, so in 1991, when they didn't have the internet, found out about they said these two guys died. One is in mental institution. One, like they found everything about these things. And then the last thing was, if this was a thing that 9-year-olds knew, 9-year-olds because the girl said she was 9 when this happened. 9-year-olds knew this story. How did these villagers see people start dying again mysteriously by this tree, and they were beaten beyond recognition, and the villagers just went, 20 years ago, this thing was happening and it was so bad that we had to go meet the Baba. and then sacrifice these people's finger, which was very stupid. But let's move on. 20 years ago, we remembered this, but now it's happening. Let's just move on. They really did a lot of the things in this story disservice. So that's what I was going to add to my bad. Because you said if we had any other bad thing I wanted to see, we should see. That's why my hand has been up since. So yeah.
All right. Thanks. Cynthia.
Oh yeah. Whatever. I mean, it's my opinion. I saw it like that, and it is what it is. So my pushback was the Obanje and sickle cell disease, and for some reason it's still Uchenna. Because we are made for each other. It's the Uchenna. So I think it said that it is popularly believed, or it is now believed, that Obanjes were sickle cell disease, whatever. Anyways, this is 1991, and as Wayne's Optimist said, because they seem to have the same voice, and I've forgotten who said it, it's hard to tell by genetic testing if they were actually SS genotype. Now, about Ombanje being sickle cell disease, I've told someone from the East that these Ombanjes are sickle cell disease, and she got pissed with me. So I'm a science student, and I understood why she was pissed with me, because it's their meat, is their tail. But I just want to say the only reason why sickle cell disease is a popular belief that those people that were dying and were called Obanje was because of malaria. So it has nothing to do with, because they have been proven that they were SS. So it could be that the mother could have had something. She did something while she was pregnant and her kids died. It could be that the children suffer for sudden infant disease syndrome. But the only reason why it's a popular belief and why people are not fighting against it's being sickle cell disease is because of malaria. So what do I mean? So it's believed that malaria is endemic to Nigeria, and over time, people in Nigeria had to evolve their genotype and become AS to fight against malaria. So because malaria is endemic to Nigeria, people have accepted that, it could be that those children that died, okay, or that are linked to Obanje tails as sickle cell disease, they had the SS, because people have evolved, they now have genotype AS and they're marrying each other. But there is no proof, okay, there's no testing done, because I mean they'll have to like go to the grave of the children dead to like get DNA and everything to prove that they were SS genotype, okay? But there's no proof or no testing that those children were sickle cell disease, okay? And for this movie, this is 1991. This man was saying it with so much conviction. And this is 2023, and it is still very agreeable. But it is just accepted and believed that a larger population could be sickle cell. And this is just because of Nigeria's are endemic to malaria, or malaria is an endemic disease in Nigeria. That's just it. So it's not like a confirmed, it's not like there's a strong scientific evidence proving that those children were SS genotype or anything. So yeah, I mean, even in 2023, if they were going to write an Ombanje story, I would have preferred, or I would prefer them to stick to the myth and probably give us a closure at the end in telling us that now it's popularly believed that these people could be sickle cell anemic. It could be that their mother could have taken something that caused developmental problem in the children. It could be that they were part of sudden infant disease syndrome. But sickle cell disease is just popular due to malaria being a very endemic disease in Nigeria. Then I was going to push back on something from last week, and it has to do with the graphic rape scene. So I can't remember who said it, but someone said that the reason why they shot the graphic rape scene was because they wanted people that have probably been involved in sexual assault to watch it and be remorse, or to feel the weight of what the rape does to people.
Mildred, I think, said that last week.
Yeah. So I actually kept quiet because it's part one, and I wanted to see how they will carry on in part two, but I did nothing to it. And I also just want to say that among most criminals, rapists are not remorseful people, please. So I'm going to give an example of this Canadian serial rapist, Paul Bernardo. So he did his rapist, he raped and killed women, okay? He spent 25 years in prison. In prison in Canada, you are going through physiotherapists, you are going through psychologists, you are going through realizing, you're going through like a lot of therapies to like be able to change your mind. And after 25 years in prison, the judges denied him bail, or parole because they do not believe that he's a changed person, okay? They do not believe he was remorseful about his rape. And the same thing with, if you guys have heard about the Indian's Daughter documentary, this is someone that went to prison to interview people, and among the criminals, rapists were not remorseful. The ones that thought they were remorseful blamed it on drug and other things, but murderers were a bit remorseful. And she's a physiotherapist or a psychologist, I can't remember. So why am I bringing this? Under the control of physiotherapists, psychologists, therapists, people that know how to tell you or how to make you see the gravity of the crime you have committed. Rapists are not remorseful. So please and please, there's no how a graphic rape scene without the direction of a trained personnel, there's no how a graphic rape scene is going to make anybody remorseful. So I'm just bringing it here because I don't want any other Nollywood director to use it as an excuse of this is why we shot this graphic rape scene, because we want rapists to be remorseful. Rapists are not remorseful people, okay? So, and under
I disagree with that. I disagree with that. A lot of rapists, I mean, especially rapists at that age. I know a lot of guys who did those things, and they are very much embarrassed and ashamed of what they did. I mean, a lot of people get into those situations, especially through peer pressure. See, that's exactly what I'm saying. And this ties back to my original criticism of it. It seems like you want to believe that the rapist is just this sort of animalistic brute who he's a rapist because he's a rapist. He has no remorse. There's no context or reason for the way that he acts the way he does, and he's never remorseful. No, these are little kids. These are like 16-year-old boys. I mean, a lot of guys get into this sort of stuff because everybody else is doing it, and they think that's how you're supposed to do it. These are guys who do
Still
not
a
know.
violent brute, Uchenna.
You say what?
Still a violent brute.
However you want to put it. But point is, the
Still
idea.
a violent brute. There is
Let me
no
finish.
context.
Let me
There is no
finish.
nothing.
Let me.
Still
I
a
disagree.
violent brute.
I disagree.
And that's on you.
Yeah,
That's
because
on you.
and you know what? Because I'm a man.
You've not
Because I'm a man.
experienced
I'm a man.
remorseful assault.
I saw these things with my own eyes. I know.
Okay, all right. It's getting a little spicy. Let's reset. Let's reset. Okay, let's reset.
Anyways, in conclusion, to me, I'm the one talking. People start obstructing me. So let me conclude now.
True. Go on.
You wanted to stop me, Mr. C. Hey, Anyways, in conclusion, to me, I'm a scientist, like I said. Except you bring scientific evidence to back up what you're saying, rapists are not remorseful. Even the people that have been sent to prison, the people that have gone through physiotherapies, the people that have been with trained personnel, they are not remorseful. Okay, I do not agree that you need to use a graphic rape scene to get remorse from rapists. That's all I want to say.
Yeah. The other thing I would even add to that though, that it seems that I think my disagreement with the way Mildred would have put it is that I don't think this video is the thing that goes, oh, I shouldn't do that. It's it sounds like your friends, sorry, not friends, the people you knew that might have done this have just come to shame of their own, through whatever, maybe. I don't think they watched the film and thought, oh no, this is particularly bad. It's just like, and I think like something that Mrs. C and I think I said last week is that there is a cartoonish way that you can portray rapists where, and it's to the thing you were saying that they can go, that's not me, that's not how I did it, like, that will make them distance themselves from even seeing themselves in that kind of thing. Because especially when you start, rubbing your hands and licking your lips, that kind of thing, it might feel. That's why, for me, like, and I think other people have even agreed that Badge's portrayal of the thing was closer to where we get sexual assault. I'm sure that there's a spectrum, I'm sure, but like those are the ones that are more, I guess, even likely is like, where somebody who likes a young person and feels, oh, because I bought them this, maybe I'm owed something. That's where you can start pushing the line, and I think that's a better version of that. But yeah, all right. Wrote to me, I think it was.
Yeah. I was not going to talk about this particular thing, but I just want to go. Who was the first guy that was killed again by Madam Kwekwe? What's his name? Is it IB?
Idowu.
Yeah.
So in this talk,
remember?
yeah. So in this context of this story, I'm not going to argue with Cynthia whether rapists are responsible or not. I do not know enough of them, and I will never be in my life, thank God. So, but Idowu's character, which is like to me that Idowu with the boys, Idowu's case is that Idowu, because I think they said that Idowu was a new guy, he just joined their group. So in that case, it felt a bit like peer pressure. Those guys, Idowu set Ibukun up with them Lashe. Them Lashe used Ibukun as bait to lure Ibukun to that place so they could rape her. So in that place, them Lashe are the probably more unremorseful ones. But Idowu, after it, started feeling remorseful. That's why he went out to go and look for her. And when he got killed, which in my own, he deserves to get killed because he's the one that set her up. So he deserves to die. This guy, the second detective, badge character, he's a sleazy old pervert. He deserves to die. Both of them deserve to die. That's all. That one's on that. I think there was something Elizabeth was talking. I was in and out about even the nature of the POV of the people making this stuff. And I know this person personally. And this is the only thing about it because I didn't watch the film until it came out. There's this weird thing about production. I've said this thing before a couple of times. That production kind of starts to lead the story. And I'm always like, put the story first. And which is funny because they were like, oh, we're doing about the story. So this is the only thing I'm going to say. There's so much that if I take out that backstory and I take out the backstory of not the backstory of when Madame Kwekwe got raped, Madame Kwekwe got raped. Take out the backstory of the village ritual. Take out the backstory of the evil of the tree. Take all the money used to do that. So now, do I not have more money to show Madame Kwekwe either through VFX or through real life makeup? How she killed those people? Like I understand the first set of people. You flash them getting killed. But Lashe, I needed to see that thing on screen. There's no way Lashe dies like off screen and I just see him bleeding on the ground like in a flash. I think Lashe and his boys even died faster than some other people. They didn't even have time to even express fear. We just saw them, we saw red lights, we just saw them on the floor. And I'm like, this is the thing about it. It's almost like when we talk about like this thing about the third act, problem that happens in Nollywood movies. It's supposed to build. We're building to somewhere. And they were just about to rape Amanda when Madame Kwekwe showed up. And I'm like, that's kind of where you raise the tension when they are just about to rape Amanda when Madame Kwekwe shows up. And Madame Kwekwe showing up for those three guys. I have to see that on screen. So now we spend so much money and we're seeing graphic rape scenes. We can see this girl hiding behind the tree. We don't see when they kill those three. Those three guys needed to die on screen in the most violent manner, and I wanted more money. If I could take just based on production and direction, take all that money that you spent on the backstory on the tree, take that money and spend on let me see how we're going to do because it's money. Maybe that's probably why we had to just show red lights. Then we see people bleeding on the floor. But if you are going to tell me this backstory, you can take that out and let me see at least at the end the people being killed. Then what else? DMEs. The detective, I'm sorry, in a weird way, both DME, do you know what is in my mind? I can take out, if I take DME out of this thing, or basically to me, DME is a nothing character, not based on his acting, just based on the role. He's a passenger. Oh, there's something. He's not detecting. They are just, the story came told to him, oh, there's a death here, I go and ask a question, but he's not detecting anything. The two detectives are not detecting anything. So why the detectives are just there? Because we have to put detectives for a murder, but they are not detecting anything. And Madam Cynthia, silence, I don't know if we need her. That Wally, I don't know if we need him. If we're going to focus, because a lot of these things took this thing away from where the school, these three evil boys, this Amanda, Madam Superior, Ubuku, I can live with that. Everybody else, old second Babalawo's apprentice, I don't need him. He does not add anything to me. Then even the weirdest thing is like when we talk about the nature of even violence. If you saw the Madame Kwekwe, specifically Madame Kwekwe's stuff, it was not just that they raped her. After they raped her, she hits one of them. Then this guy punches her into the ground. Like that is the most vicious. He didn't even punch her. After he punched her, he took his foot and bashed her head in. That's like you can't see that level of violence, and I can't see Madam Koi Koi freaking dismember Lashe. Like that thing was the most. I was like, I timed the first rape was like 1 minute. That thing, the rape, the second was like 40 something seconds. But it was almost too long even for me to watch. And I can tell you, as an editor, that first scene, if I don't see the boys coming to the room and they shut the door, I don't need to see them. I don't need to see the pants getting torn. I just need to see the door shut behind them, and I see her Bukun later just gathering herself as she's buying her clothes. I already know what happened. I can leave, my imagination can do the rest. I don't need to see that pants torn. I need to see Madam Koi Koi kill somebody. I need to see her kill Lashe. If I can't see that, that's what it now goes down. All the things I've built up because you have built Lashe up with all his lies and everything, and he gets killed in that lame way. That's the only thing that's really kind of really frustrating for me. I was looking forward to watching him die. And that's like, if we had time to spend money on the backstory on a tree, the backstory of a tree, we could have taken that money and spent money down on the visual effects or on the makeup effects to show how those guys died. That's all.
All right. No, thanks for it to me. Can stand by full approval on that. Just wanted to add, because for some reason I forgot this in my bad. I'm sure somebody already touched up on this. The end credit scene with the boy, I thought was both a disservice to how boys can be examples, like can be part of sexual abuse, and just a disservice to the whole thing. It's such an afterthought.
Diversity and inclusion.
It just felt like, oh yeah, by the way, boys to the it just felt so distasteful. I forgot to say that during my own, and I can't believe that it was just done so poorly, and so yeah. Also, boys too. Anyway, Inka.
I actually raised up my hand to rant about Mother Superior's characterization, and like, but Cynthia, I love you. I do. I really do.
Oh, I love you too. Although I'm cooking now, but anyway, I love you.
But the thing is that you haven't presented evidence that rapists, and all rapists are not remorseful. That what you said is about one guy, maybe some other people too, but rape is so common in the world.
Is this the conversation we want to have on NFC?
I know. I just want to say this: rape is so common in the world, so common. Oh my God, the amount of how it happens is just Lord Almighty. You can throw a stone, just throw a stone, and in any way, anywhere, you will hit somebody that is a rape victim. That's how common it is. Which means it's also very common that there's so many perpetrators that, for me to believe that none of them has ever been remorseful or pay the price or do something, is to believe that no human being has been remorseful of something. So that's just the pushback. But now, this is not the space to talk about something so very how to handle it, how to us. It's so very, very it's a very big conversation. But let me just talk about Mother Superior. Mother Superior is, I have a lot of ranting. It's the same thing, it's the same issue. That is, she's emblematic of this movie. It is somebody that thought that they wrote her with a pretty good motivation. But then it just went horrible, because why will Mother Superior hand over? Nobody is even talking about this. Mother Superior literally was about to hand over. She literally is going to hand over Amanda to be raped by the boys. Because of what? Because of what? You set up something, you want to seem smart, it's nice, you want to seem smart, and then you do not even circle back, or you did not even write, what's it called? When you want to write a detail, what is the thing called? When you want to write an essay and you write like freehand or you outline, you did not even write an outline of how you're going to show this woman to do this thing, how you're going to. They wanted to write a cool villain that is smart, right? And she just does the dumbest stuff. She doesn't even call the parents. First of all, where are the parents of Idowu? She's willing to, what's it called, allow the boys to continue to rape. None of the kids have their parents that they're going to talk to. Like none of the girls have their parents that they talk to. And you're willing to even, she's even willing to be a witness of rape by literally handing over the girl to the boys at a certain period of time and leaving them by themselves. Like Mother Superior doesn't do anything, even if she's willing to like be like understanding of the boys, or like be not understanding, have more pity for the boys, because these are the boys that are giving out the schooling something. Mother Superior is not smart enough to be like, yo, like start to have a setup of like finding other smarter girls or boys or something to be able to, especially these boys who have probably gotten a lot of trouble and causing a lot of headache for her. It's just, she's not scary. She's not even smart. And it's just like, why are you going to, it's just, what is our plan? What parents are going to call at some point. What is our plan? They told her that there's a ghost coming straight to something. She wants to protect the school. And apparently for her to protect the school or to keep the school at high standing is to win some academic scholarship. That's it?
Yeah.
That's it?
All right.
Are you kidding me? How is this woman a proprietress? How is this woman like an evil genius? How is this woman even selfish? Even if you were going to say that she's very narrow-minded, she's so narrow-minded to the point of stupidity. She clearly kind of, in some place, they play her as like she doesn't know indeed that those boys are rapists. Or maybe she does, but she doesn't know. And the boys can easily fool her. And she's being a servant to the boys. The boys are not even scared of her.
All
You
right.
know this type of character. It's just I want to say a lot. It's just it's a waste of time. They didn't put enough time. They didn't express. Are you going to tell me to keep quiet? I
Yeah.
have a lot of ranting to do about Mother Superior, and I have a lot of ranting, but I will
Yeah.
let it go.
All right. Thanks, Hank. All right, Pearl.
Actually, no, because you know what?
Sorry, young no. All right, Pearl. Sorry, we do have to move on, Inko. Pearl, try your mute button again.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, I wanted to circle back, or rather, I wanted to point out one other thing that they forgot to circle back to, which was this movie started out telling us as the main conflict that this school was under, was the existence of this school was basically endangered, right? Meaning there were all these forces on the lookout for whatever was happening and basically looking for any excuse to take this school away from Mother Superior or shut down the school. And from what I understand, they didn't want it to remain a missionary school. The government wanted to take this school back. And then this story spent 2 chapters giving us every single conceivable. The government has more than enough reason at this point, not just to shut down this school, but to bring in bulldozers and level that whole place. And I mean, 4 students died, a rape, all these things that happened. This community as a whole. And then we resume 1 month later with mother, sister, whatever her name is, Silence, assuming office, and Amanda's mom bringing her back. Let me just go.
Nah, legit. All right. Okay. Thanks, Pearl. All right. I think we've done this. Quite. We've been extensive with this. Let's go into our summaries. Starting with Cynthia. Cynthia, please give us your summary for the
Yeah,
original.
okay, yes, okay, anyways. So, to be honest, to be sincere, but let me just say one thing before I say my summary. About the remorse part, like in the India's Daughter documentary, where rape is remorseful, the ones that were marked remorseful blamed it on, oh, it was drug, it was peer pressure, but they did not understand the gravity. Not understand the gravity that the girls that rape are going through. So yeah, that's it. But my summary, and it's my opinion. I'm sorry if it hurts people, but after watching the two parts of this movie, I felt like the only reason this movie existed was because they wanted to shoot rape scenes. I'm sorry, like there was no Madame Koi Koi tale being recognized. I mean, we have all agreed it was more about the villagers. It was more about we saw less student participation. We saw all that. They didn't address the rape, but they had time shooting all the rape scenes. So yeah, I I just felt like this movie exists because they wanted to shoot a rape scene. Then they kind of say, oh, let's put in a tail. But in the process of putting a tail, they made her a werewolf that is killing victims in every full moon. So I don't know. It just did not meet anything about Madame Koi Koi. I don't know. I just did not recognize it, and at the end, I felt like the only reason this movie exists was because I wanted to shoot a rape scene, to shoot rape scenes. Yeah, that's all. I can't talk again.
All right, let me say
All
something
right.
real quick, please. I just want to say something real quick. I don't want to talk about this at length because this is such a difficult topic to talk about. And if you don't take what is necessarily the accepted line of it, automatically there is the perception that you are in some way apologizing for rape or showing undue sympathy to rapists, which is not what I'm doing. But I'm going to say that if we're going to talk seriously about rape culture, there's the idea that there is a culture that young boys are inculcated to. And we're talking about very young boys who do things not necessarily understanding why they do them because that is the culture around them. And the idea that just because some boys did some things when they were 15 and 16, the idea that the rest of their lives, I'm not trying to say they should be in any way forgiven for what they did, but the idea that for the rest of their lives they have no remorse about that they are just hardened rapists because they went to a party with some boys when they were 15 and did what they saw other boys doing, I don't agree with that. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't see the context though for this movie. It seems like you are creating context that doesn't exist in this film to justify. Again, I'm not saying that you're a rape apologist, but it seems like you're creating context that doesn't exist. Idowu makes a conscious choice. He did not walk into a party and then see them raping and join in. He makes a conscious choice to set the girl up that he's with. There's no remorse in this movie.
No,
The
but
only remorse that exists at the
we do
end
see
is
him
him
look
looking
we
for
do see
her.
him.
Okay. All right. This is my fault. We're doing the summaries. We don't need to be going. We've had the pushback section. Let's just try and move on, please. All right. Atas.
Anyway,
Yeah. Atas. Atas, you're on mute.
yeah, because you muted everyone.
Apologies.
Anyways, I don't know why you decided to mute when I was speaking and let him have his whole thing. Either way, though, this movie is a fun. I think I said it earlier. This movie very much does do a disservice to whatever it's trying to tell us. Whether it's advocating for rape victims, I don't know. And it also does a disservice to the story of Lady Koi Koi, Madame Koi Koi, whatever she was called in your school, in the way it chooses to portray and tell the story. This was not a great attempt at horror. It does definitely look like a fantasy of some young man somewhere with interesting fantasies, because a lot of what is fleshed out is the assaults, and a lot of what is not is the quote unquote retribution. So everybody can draw their own theories from there. but as a body of work, as one body of work, it is not great. As two bodies of work, the first part does have some merit. However, that merit doesn't follow itself into the second part. It starts okay enough, is it's drenched in the Nollywood third act curse from the very beginning of part 2. It feels like two separate movies. There's no cohesiveness, there's no coherentness, and all of the things set up just fall flat, don't work. I don't know why Madame Superior has a hitman. Don't know who's taking hits on. Is it children he's killing? Like, I just did not understand the conclusions that they decided to have with this movie. I do not understand Madame Koi Koi's motivations. I don't understand why she has left Malomo and gone to a different village instead of going back to sleep. I don't know what hold the silent sister has over her. Don't know what they agreed on in the first part and why it's relevant enough to stop her from, doing what she wants to do twice. It was underwhelming. Even her screaming whilst the sister was talking to her was underwhelming. At no part did I feel scared, just confused. And so I will not be watching this again or recommending it. And it's a strong 2 for me.
All right. Thanks, Tess. Vanessa.
This film was not good. It couldn't follow a basic story structure, beginning, middle, and got tied up in knots of its own making. And this all could have been avoided by just asking, why are we making this film? Especially when you have a well-known myth as source material. Granted, it's not a lot of stuff that's documented, but a very well-known word of mouth myth, and you do this with it. Completely silly. Will definitely not be recommending it to anybody. I don't know how anybody can stomach watching this more than once. I barely got through the watch of the second episode. I can guarantee you, the minute the last scene showed up, I didn't even stay to watch for the mid-credit scene. I didn't even know there was a mid-credit scene until this space. Will not be watching, will not be recommending. Godspeed to everybody and the work of their hands. But I like to say, let this not repeat itself again. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Vanessa. Timmy. Timmy, are you there? Okay, Rotimi, do you want to give us your summary?
Yeah, so I'm probably going to take the view of this is going to sound wrong, but I'm going to say let me not throw the baby away with the bathwater. If I had to tell anybody about this, I'll tell them to watch the first part. I'm not trying to watch the second part. I like the idea of the premise. I liked it because it made for conversation, it's recognizability for the audience that, they have heard about Madame Koi Koi. I like the nostalgia, the secondary school, these punishments. I even thought that them Lashe as villains, as if I make them out as villains, and Madame Superior as villains from the first part, I could buy that. I like some of the camera work. I like some of the things that were done here in terms of production. The second part is where everything, because of it doesn't elevate, because what happens after you set all that thing up, it needs to elevate and get better, especially when you divide this thing into a two-parter. Then everybody's anticipating the second part. I think a lot of this thing now makes this second part feel a lot worse because of the anticipation building up to it, and which is also part of this marketing thing. Even labeling it as horror is part of this categorization that Netflix does, releasing it on Halloween to give it one kind of theme to say, oh, you're watching this because it's a Halloween film. All those things kind of set these things up for failure. And like I can see there's a version of this film that can still. I see, like what we're saying about the intention. There's an intention in this film. Do I think everything works? No. But could I think that where it started from, could something be built on it? Yes. I just don't feel. I feel the foundation is there. Maybe not the full final building is complete. And if another person decides to reinterpret the idea of Madame Koi Koi and adapts it, because that's the only thing for me. I think within the Nollywood space, I think that the idea of taking a myth that all of us are familiar with, because there are other things. There's Bush Baby, there's Muguli Willy. There are other things that we can take and make stories out of. And it was interesting at the first time to see us attempt to tell a story within a myth, within our stuff. Maybe not 100% for execution, but for intention and idea, half. Maybe I'll try and give it a 5.5 over 10, and it could have been better. It could have landed. If the second part was as good as the first part, I will be here defending it. So yeah, that's for me.
All right. Thanks, Rotimi. Uchenna, please give us your summary.
Yeah, in summary, like I said earlier, I think this is not a Madame Koi Koi movie, nor is it a horror movie. I would have said that the filmmakers didn't actually want to make a Madame Koi Koi horror movie. They wanted to make a Yoruba blood curse movie, and they marketed it as something else. But I saw this, like I said, I saw this interview with Jay Franklyn where he talked about the genesis of the idea. He said he wanted to make a Madame Koi Koi movie, and he told his screenwriter to come up with something, and they came up with something around, sexual assault and stuff like that. So I guess they actually really did want to do it, but what they turned up with was not that. I wish they had had the foresight at that time to recognize that the script they had was not what they wanted to do, which happens a lot of times. You start out wanting to do one thing and you end up with something else. I wish they had had the strength to say, okay, this story isn't about Madame Koi Koi. Let's just take her out of the story and make our blood curse movie. And I think it would have been much better if they had done that. Hopefully someone else makes a better Madame Koi Koi movie in the future. And who just spoke before me? I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at my phone. But yeah, sorry, Rotimi. When you said that somebody's doing this for the first time, no, there are many films about Madame Koi Koi. There's there have been at least 2 features from so-called old Nollywood or Asaba Wood. There's even right now on YouTube. There's at least one feature. There's at least one feature-length Madame Koi Koi movie on YouTube that you can watch right now, and there are several short films about it, and all of them are better than this. So I don't really see this movie as something that we're going to be looking back on in years and talking about. I don't see it as something that we're going to remember. I still have a lot of respect for Jay Franklyn. Hopefully he does something better in the future.
All right. Thanks, Uchenna. Wayne's rant, please.
Okay. Straight to the point. Like Uchenna said, this film is not about Madame Koi Koi. So I don't know. First of all, I don't think I can recommend it just because it got me really, really upset. There's too much exposition. There's no direction to the story. I don't even think there is a story at its core. There's no real motivation. The acting is average at best. The scenes and it's Otal said is strong too. I think I will go with a stronger one for my, and I'm not being harsh. I know it may sound like I'm being harsh, but I'm not being harsh. That's what I feel. So yeah.
All right. Thanks, Wayne's rant. Nollywood must change.
Okay. Before I give my conclusion or whatever, I'll try to say something like, what we do here is not because we want to hate on Nollywood or want to make Nollywood bad kind of thing, but we're just trying to do it so that we can get better films. Because I think since last year that we've been doing this thing, maybe before the year before the last, we should be able to be getting good films by now. So I think when you are writing, you should there's some things that you have to look into when you're writing, your character motivation, make sure your lead character is not passive. And these are the little things that make your story that make it make sense. So this movie, I would just say that maybe should I say it's like an attempt to something good. I would try to well, I'll just try to say that I want them to do something better next time. I'll give them the benefit of doubt to they should do something better next time, because I think judging based on part 1, they were trying to do something, but I knew from part 1 that part 2 will never be good. Immediately they kind of revealed who Madame Coco was from part 1. I knew we are not going to get any horror flick from part 2, and to never be good. So would I recommend this movie? I think I would recommend, because we don't really have much horror movies. So I would recommend, if someone wanted to see a Nigerian horror movie, And but this is not Madame Koi Koi. I'm sorry. This movie is not about Madame Koi Koi. It's about something else. Maybe it's about rape, like a revenge movie. They should have just done something like that. Instead of calling it Madame Koi Koi to exploit, the folktale. So I would recommend. Just that's all I have to say.
All right, thanks. Not really much change. Ainkans, do you want to give us your summary?
My summary is that this movie was an impetus of just let me like saying, Mr. and Mrs. C, I am not envious of your position. Eh? You were damned if you do, you were damned if you didn't in this conversation because it led somewhere you guys did not expect. And you should thank this movie for that. So my summary is still the same for everything. This movie did not cross the bar of like for me to say never watch it. So here we go again. On a Sunday night or any night you come back from work or anytime you want to enjoy yourself, movies are just to entertain. You can put this on for 30 minutes, see whether you like it or not. In fact, you might actually like it for the first test, for the entire first hour or for the entire first episode. So maybe for 30 minutes, put on the second episode, see whether you enjoy it or not. If you don't, you can change it. In the over 100 years the motion picture was invented, there's been a lot of movies from every corner of this earth. Go watch one of those. If you enjoy them, watch it. If you don't watch it. I can't decide for you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, Ainkan. And is it Pearl? Yeah. Pearl, have you done your summary? Yeah.
All I want to say is I want to warn these people that whatever they are planning for the next season or whatever, like I'm just warning them now because they've already so badly and grossly mismanaged male on female rape. I don't know what they are planning now to do with what looks like female on male. Like, I don't know if they are equipped to tell the story they are trying to tell as far as the thematic focus that they've chosen. They should just tell Madame Koi Koi's story. That's my summary.
There's going to be a season 2.
Sorry. I think
I'm not hearing from anybody. No, never, nobody. Thank you. Thanks, Pearl.
There's another Madame.
Muted. Please. No. Please. Let us do summary and summary only. It's cute that Pearl thinks that last thing was not a throwaway. That they will follow it up. So. All right. Mrs. C.
I think this was a failed attempt at making an anti-hero story of Madame Koi Koi. I think maybe it required more time to cook. Maybe it wasn't made by people who were equipped or who had the ability to be able to tell that story. Again, I do want to see more Nigerian stories. I think our stories deserve to be told. They deserve to be on the screen. I want to see someone else take on Madame Koi Koi and give her an iconic story that we can watch and recommend and show our children. But this is not the one.
All right. Okay. A lot of people hoping for better Madame Koi Koi. I wonder how many botch Madame Koi Kois before people relax. By the way, the person who made Breath of Life says he has a Madame Koi Koi film in the works, just in case. All right. And it's incidental. It's not like it was sparked by this. All right. Anyway, yeah, my summary is I didn't like it. I think I've said everything else I want to say. I didn't like it. All right. So we did discuss Nollywood movies every Sunday, or Nollywood Conversation. We did The Urge in Madame Koi Koi Chapter 2 today. Do give some of the speakers a follow, any of the speakers a follow. If you like what they're saying, follow us. And we will meet here next week for something else that I'm sure will be Okay, I'm not sure of anything, to be honest. It is Nollywood. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for the conversation. I do appreciate everybody, adding their voice. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.